Episode 185. Welcome back to Staggered Stance. We are sorry about this last week. You wake up Tuesday morning, you show up Monday night, you're looking for a live show Tuesday morning, you're driving to work. We know that we have become a regular part of your week, and as scary as that is for us, we do understand that that is something for you, and we would like to not do that to you ever again. Things come up. I think solar eclipses came up, and Josh was in Florida, and we were everywhere else. And
you don't got to worry about that till 2044. So at least
when I'm 60
20 more years.
Yeah.
That's a story for another time. But I did try to travel back from New Hampshire. New England's not even that big. Like New England could fit like how many times in Texas? Like 5, 6, 8, 10.
I think 5. Yeah.
Long story short is I drove in one state of New Hampshire that you can normally drive in maybe 3 or 4 hours total. The whole state, tip to end, took me 14 hours. So
what, in one trip?
Yeah, we'll just leave it.
It took me 7. I feel bad for you.
14 hours. That's a story for another time. But
oh my goodness,
it was beautiful. We had a lot of disc golf happening per usual on the weekend of a disc golf pro tour event, Jonesboro Open. But before we get to that, episode 185 is presented as usual by discgolf978.com. Now, I've been telling you a lot of really like good things about them, and I'm about to stop doing that. No, I'm kidding. You're like, what? I'll just play some sad music. Here's the sad music, because I've been forgetting to tell you one of the best things about Disc Golf 978, and it was in my error in missing that. I talked to Scott over there. I said, hey man, what can we do to promote you even better? Like, we love you. We love 978. And he's like, man, I already told you we're giving the 25% discount on, player packs and pay. I said, what? 25% discount? I was like, man, I've been telling people just to go and use you because you're awesome, but 25%. So here's the deal. If you know a TD, or you plan to run an event, the only tournament payout structure that I want to use is through Disc Golf 978, because if I'm set up to run an event and I'm going to pay out, I'm going to make it simple math. I'm paying out $1,000 in prize or funny money. It only cost me as a TD $750, and I get to pay out $1,000. That's what happens when you work with 978. The same thing for the player packs. So you want to, I love I'm going to call it a virtual player pack. I am the biggest fan of this ever. Let the player pick what they want. When you do a virtual player pack through 978, you also get this 25% discount. So if you spend, again, I'll just round it up, $1,000 on player pack, it only costs you $750 value to that player pack. And it lets people choose what they want for their player pack. Now, the free shipping is over $25. And so unless your player pack is over $25, they're going to pay for shipping. But here's what I would sell this as, like a multi-event thing. Say by the time you get to the second event, you have this much money, you don't pay anything on shipping, and you get to pick what you want. It's a total win. I absolutely love it. I rave about it all the time, and that's not just because I'm local. This is what I would definitely do. So reach out to Disc Golf 978. People already have around the country. Let's keep that ball rolling, 25% discount. Ben, you're wearing something printed by them, custom. Tell us about that real quick.
So Disc Golf 978. This is a fishing polo, kind of samurai hoodie, and I want to be safe from the sun, but I also wanted to play disc golf in it, so I got the Hooligan Disc logo, my sponsor, got my store logo, and and all from Disc Golf 978. You just give them your shirt, whatever.
Just tell them what you want.
True, they could also order it. You don't have to. They could order a shirt for you. Make sure it's clean, but and boom, you can put any logos that you're sponsored by just like that. Super easy, super awesome process. They're super great to work with, and this quality is incredible. So I can wear any shirt that I enjoy wearing. I don't have to buy a specific or use a team shirt or anything like that. I can just print my own, and it's so easy. All thanks to Disc Golf 978. I mean, look at that. That is full color of my logo, Ben Callaway.
That is awesome.
It's incredible.
That is incredible. So that's Disc Golf 978, everybody. We're excited to have them on board for this whole season. Check them out. All your disc golf needs. Disc Golf 978. Use code WeLove978. I actually got to play an event over at their home course now where they're put in there at Meadowbrook. I got to play doubles with my son, which was really, really fun. That's just fresh in my mind. That's all. Okay. Moving into Ben and I have talked a little bit. We're going to let Evan kind of service up some of the stats and recaps, and maybe he'll get some reactions from Josh and Nick, and Ben and I can sit back. But Evan, we saw what happened, but for those who didn't, or for those who are interested in some of the recap, go ahead and give it to us for Jonesboro.
Yeah, sure. We were back at in Jonesboro, Arkansas for the Play It Again Sports Jonesboro Open. This has been a Disc Golf Pro Tour event since 2017, the second year of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and still going. It's pretty much the same course, except we saw a change up this year, a slight layout change, but a big numbering change. They kind of reordered where hole 1 was to have a new tournament central, threw all the numbers off. So you might have been remembering holes, but been like, I don't think it was that number. Well, that was the case. Anyways, we saw some familiar faces at this familiar event win, one being a familiar face of the last few weeks to start the season, and then one being a familiar face from last couple weeks all the way to the last couple seasons, and that is Kristin Tattar and Anthony Barella. Both get the win. Kristin Tattar had maybe the most dominant. Well, I can't say that. There's been a few dominant victories this year, Owen Scoggins and Missy Gannon, but an incredibly dominant victory for Kristin. She led in pretty much every driving category. She had a 54% birdie rate. She was 17% in parked, which was number one, 56 in C1 reg, 81% in C2 reg, which were both first in the field. She ended up winning by 9 strokes, and it's her sixth 8+ stroke victory of her career at major and elite events. And in the last 3 years, there's only been 12 FPO major or elite wins by 8+ strokes. So half of those are 6, half of them are by Kristin Tattar. Truly putting up a dominating display, and we all know that she can do that. Kind of the first time she's done that now in 2024. Any thoughts on Kristin's big win? I know you guys were probably expecting this, but at some point this season, sorry, not necessarily at this event, but you were expecting a dominating performance by Kristin Tattar. We've seen only unique winners this season up to this point, and she eclipsed the 1,000 rated mark for this event. As an event rating, not her player rating, which she's also striving for. But that means all the winners this year in the FPO Major Elite season have been 1,000+ rated winners. That's 6 in a row, which is a record. But off to you guys for your responses on Kristin getting this big win.
Josh gets this one.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I mean, am I surprised at all? No. I think what's interesting is people had questions after a few down events, and by down events, I forget what was the lowest she performed. It still wasn't that far down the leaderboard. Okay. So, I still think, Evan, you're like, well, maybe not at this particular event. Did you expect it or not? And I'm like, I still think I expect Kristin at every single event. There isn't anything overall concerning. She's acknowledged, imagine the stress and pressure of starting the new year after last year's performance. She still came out with a win, now getting a second win. So yeah, I imagine in some ways she'll still feel the pressure, but getting a second win must alleviate a little bit of okay. And I think her post simply said it's good to be back on top. So there's still a lot of confidence there. And she looked great, and she did it in typical fashion. Matt, I know you've talked about in the past, you like to see her kind of fight maybe a comeback win under pressure. Didn't happen here, right? Went into the last round up many strokes and just kind of pushed that lead further. So, I don't know, not a whole lot else to say, except that I think Kristin is still showing us that she's the same Kristin she was before, and probably going to get more wins this season.
Fun fact, it's a palindrome for her right now on her finishes. Her first event, so I'll just read it as they played out: 1, 2, 6, 2, 1. So if we play that out again, it's going to have to be 1, 2, 6, 2, 1, 2. So is she going to get second here at Music City? I don't know. That's what I got.
All right. Well, swinging it over to MPO, we saw Anthony Barella take home the win. He was tied for the lead going into the final round with Isaac Robinson. Both him and Isaac Robinson started off the final round pretty slow, while Calvin Heimberg surged into the lead. Ben Callaway, we'll talk to him shortly. He was up there for the running. Ezra Haderold was in the mix. A lot of names all over the first 1 to 3 cards, all battling for the who can come out on top. It felt destined for a playoff, the first playoff of the 2024 Major and Elite season, which we have yet to see, which we saw a bunch last few years. But it was down to the wire. Then all of a sudden, Ben Callaway, who is the leader, bogeys hole 18. Calvin Heimberg, or I guess the ordering of it would go. Anthony Barella then landed on the island green or peninsula. I believe it's an island on hole 18. And then Calvin Heimberg needed to match or do better. And he went OB, which, all but sealed the win for Anthony Barella. It just took a non-miracle shot from the drop zone and then a layup from Anthony Barella to get the win. This one felt to me as the great players always feel like they just kind of walk backwards into a win. They're there. And then other people make mistakes and they're like, all right, I will take this win. And great players do that. It's not a knock on Anthony Barella or this kind of win, but that's what it felt like. And we've seen Anthony Barella now be a proven winner with his third Elite Series win from just 5 events to start the season. From 3 wins in the first 5 events to start a major or an elite season in MPO. It's the first time since 2019 when Paul McBeth did it, and only the 4th player in history in MPO to do it, along with Paul McBeth, Ricky Wysocki. They both did it a handful of times. And then Barry Schultz did it back in 2006. Those are the only players in history to do it. Of course, we didn't have Elite Series events until 2003, and there was a limited amount of majors. So players like Ken Climo or other greats of old didn't have the chance in their prime to play 5 events and win 3 of the first 5. But moving on.
Hold on, just real quick, because it was just like a week or 2 weeks ago. We were talking about how many times he could win this season. We were trying to project out what are the possibilities. Some of us threw out like 4 or 5, and we felt like, man, that's a lot. And you said, yeah, I'm pretty sure 3 is probably an amazing season, and that's probably the likelihood. Think about that. He hit his 3rd, and this is like he's played first, fourth, first. What is the rest of the season going to look like? We don't have to respond to that now, but Evan, would you make a change yet, or do you still feel like 3 is like maybe you dabble in 4 now? Where are you at with that?
Yeah, well, I'm not wrong yet.
Right.
To be clear, I'm perfectly hit the nail on the head if he just doesn't win again this season. But to answer that question, is I'd probably bump that number up.
Okay.
I think just now that he's won back-to-back, and this type of win especially, he shot incredibly well. I mean, he started off the round slow, but then he shot fire to the end of the round. I shouldn't say he walked back in. What did he go? Like, got 6 down through the final 6 holes. 5 down through the final 6 holes, including an eagle. And so it's not like he played poorly to walk this in, but the victory kind of opened up to him as he's playing amazingly. But to move on, this made it seem like more of these can happen. He can definitely win like this or shoot incredible fire again. I almost want to say 5 at this point, but like that's still crazy talk. To say that someone's going to win 5 major and elite events in a year when we're in April still, that's incredible. Last year, Gannon Buhr led the field in MPO with 3. And that was it. I mean, 5 if you're counting silvers, but we don't have those in this season in North America. And it's a different tier. It's not the Elite Series or a major tier. And so having 5, I mean, we can go back to 2022 when Ricky Wysocki did it. It's not like it's been that long since someone's done it, but it felt like a new era. But then now we're just we're in a new era of a different player, but it still feels like this era of domination. But I think he could go up to 5. I don't know if we're passing that around or if we want me to move on.
Before you move on from that, and I'll just say this, we're not talking about it now, but what's the first event he places outside the top 5? All right, think about that. All right, get back to it.
That's a great question. And I also pose the question of, 3 Elite Series wins is awesome. He almost had the major last year. He, of course, wants a major. There's no doubt that that's of importance to him. So that's the next question now. It's not. Would you rather have 1 more win for the season and have it be a major, or would you rather have 2 or 3 more Elite Series wins and hit 5 or 6? Like,
wow.
Great question there. But to move on the stats about Anthony Barella, he has now finished top 4 in every single event this season. Gannon Buhr also was doing that up to this event, but he finished 7th. Losing out on that top 4 streak. So Anthony Barella is the only one who's done it all year this season, or at least with a minimum number of events. No one's done it more than 2 times. No one has an active streak over more than 2. Ezra Ader holds the other one with 2 right now. And then where I was going with that, let me get back on track. the players who have gone 5 top 4s out of the first 5 events to start an MPO major and elite season. We have to go back to Paul McBeth in 2017, even his incredible 2019 run where he had 3 wins from the first 5 events. He didn't have 5 top 4s like Anthony Barella does. Ricky Wysocki also did in 2017, not to only highlight Paul McBeth. And then a handful more have done that, but still not many. It's a rare occurrence. And then if you're asking, okay, cool, what about the start of the season? But you're talking about the start of the season. I am right now. But what about the all-time best record for top 4s? Well, he's got a ways to go. I think Paul McBeth was like in the mid-teens. Ken Klima has one that's in the double digits. He's got a way to go, but I did since 2020. And he still has a little bit to go, but it's much more reachable in this coming weeks. Calvin Heimberg has the best streak in the 2020s decade with 7 in 2023. Just last year, Eagle McMahon also did a 6 straight top 4 streak last year as well. And then Calvin Heimberg did it in 2020 and in 2021. And Ricky Wysocki had a 6 in 2020. And then Ricky Wysocki also had a 5 in 2021, which is what Anthony Barella is at right now. All right, lots of talking. I've given my opinion on Anthony Barella. I'll share it around and what people are thinking of Anthony Barella right now.
I think I know I said when we were talking about AB, and I think it was preseason, I said something about like he is like the sky is the limit. He could be the best ever, and everyone was like, "Man, you're jumping too far there. Like we don't even know if he's going to be better than Eagle." Like at this point, I'm hearing those thoughts in my head from majority of the show. I felt like we still don't know, but having seen what you've seen through these first 5 events, do any of you kind of change your mind and say there's a high likelihood that he ends up being better or at least the same quality as Eagle? Or is he already there? Like, does anybody have any feelings on that?
Well, I think it's tough to kind of make that comparison right now. And reason being is because this is kind of the first year that we're really seeing Anthony pop off, especially getting 3 wins already on the Elite Series. We've seen Eagle do it for a number of years, be consistently a top 5 to top 10 player. So yeah, AB is already on pace for an incredible season. And with a few more wins, even popping a major or 2 in there, then yeah, we're talking about an absolutely incredible season. But, you know, we can't really talk about, is he the same player as someone else yet? Only reason being is because this is kind of his first year really popping off.
Are you saying, Matt, slow down, or are you saying you don't think he will have that type of year next year?
I'm saying, Matt, slow down.
Okay.
I think AB is the best player in the world right now and the best thrower. And we've seen him compete on these throwers courses. And we're about to go to another throwers course, being the Music City Open out in Nashville. So high likelihood of AB placing in that top 3 with a potential win going into that event as well.
Final thought back to you. Do you feel like the quality of play that you've seen from AB in these first 5 events is as high or higher than what we've ever seen from Eagle? Would you even go that far?
I think as high.
Okay.
I wouldn't say higher yet because we have seen Eagle just absolutely shred dominant. I mean, talk about the European Open that happened, in 2022, where Eagle and Paul just went absolutely ham compared to everyone else. Eagle still has that capability of just that we've seen in the past. AB definitely has that capability now. We just haven't 100% seen it yet.
Yeah, I'm willing to give it more time. I just hope my prediction was right and I just somehow prophesied it, for years to come. But his ceiling was so high. All right, Josh, any thoughts, or Ben, any thoughts on that, AB, before we go on to the next segment?
I'll just add, like, if you insert this conversation into the current context with everything else, what I mean by that is we've all said, well, the disc golf, the field, how competitive the field is keeps growing, right? The competition's harder, the field's deeper, the quality's getting higher. In fact, we're even talking about it, is it potentially, right, making it harder for anybody to get multiple wins, right? Or like any season in the past, even some of our top best players for various reasons, right, but are not at the top. And it's like, well, the field's getting harder and harder to win. So my point is, we say all that, and then AB comes out and wins 3 out of the 5. In that context, we can't dismiss that fact, right? We've been drumming it up to say how impossible it is to get a multiple win year. AB just passed Heimberg's year last year for wins, right? Already. Heimberg had a whole year to do it, and we all said, like, player of the year, right? Best thing going.
Well, that was for his average finishes and being always at the top, having so many lead cards is more than just his wins. But your point still matters.
Yeah, it matters a lot. Like, sorry,
Your point matters, Josh.
Josh, your point always does matter. Sorry, your opinion always matters, I guess.
Well, you don't have to be, you don't have to be nice about it. My point is, given all that context, I'm fine, Nick, if you say, like slow down, because we do tend to overreact, and it's only 5 events, and stats have a funny way of averaging out, right? So at the end of the day, to Evan's point, if he doesn't have another win, then he finished with 3. I get that, but I think we just need to acknowledge and say it's pretty crazy. And Evan, your point about kind of, winners kind of sometimes fall into it, and it's not a discredit to them. There's a little quote that's always stuck with me. It's like, luck is the residue of skill. Now I'll let you think about that. But the point is, you have to have skill to put yourself into a position where a little bit of luck works for you. So anyway, I think what he's doing is incredible. Even if he doesn't get another win the rest of the year, he could literally have an argument to be player of the year. It's way too early to say that. I get it. It's kind of foolish, but it's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, any closing thoughts?
AB's good.
I want to just touch on a few more stats, and cool. I know we're excited to go into our Pop Block drop picks. I'm personally excited to go into.
We're only doing our points review first. We'll do the points review.
Well, okay. Yeah, our picks that we.
I know you're excited. I wonder why.
So,
I wonder why.
Go ahead. To cover the podium, we'll talk to Ben Callaway shortly. But this is his second career podium finish at a major elite event. The first time he ever did it was literally last year at Jonesboro, same course. We'll figure out what clicks about Jonesboro and why he gets podiums here. His second of his career. He was looking for his first win, didn't quite get it. We'll see if it's on the horizon coming soon. Ezra Aderhold also finishes tied for second. That marks back-to-back podiums. He had a great event 2 weeks ago at Texas State's, finishing third. That's the first time he's ever had back-to-back podiums in his career at this level. And then also Calvin Heimberg finishes in that logjam of tied for second. That's 5 straight years he's finished first or second at Jonesboro. Last year he won it, and that's the last time he's won any event. Although it was last Jonesboro, we're still approaching on the 1-year mark. It was Jonesboro last year was held at the end of April, so we're not quite at that year without winning for Calvin Heimberg, but certainly close, and it feels like it already. And then one more name I want to touch on, not on the podium and quite a ways down. Sorry, Nick, to bring it up, but Paul McBeth. We do have to talk about his run of play right now. Maybe that's later in the show. I'll leave that to you, Matt. But he goes 52nd at chess.com, 64th at Waco, 22nd at Austin, was looking better, but then back down to 57th at Jonesboro. The 3 of those 4 events, he's had an event rating of 1015 or lower, and looked up the number of times he's had a 1015 rated event or lower at major and elite events per year. And the last time he had 3 in a single season, and he's only 4 events in, but 3 in a single season was 2009, which was 2 years before he got his first Elite Series win in 2011. And so that is a while. That's well over a decade since he's been at that low of play. And then interesting nugget, when he did have those 3 10-15 rated events or lower, it included a top 10 and a 17th place, which that's more of to note the level of the field growing so much that event rating could still snag you a top 10 back then. It is definitely not doing it now. It's not even getting you cash, as Paul McBeth has missed cash at all 3 of those events I'm mentioning, but did cash at Austin.
Yeah, we'll bring that up in a filler topic kind of way later, not to make a whole highlight out of it. But yeah, it's been interesting. I did pick McBeth. And so we're not going to get into last week's picks besides our points, but I did pick him to pop, and a lot of people did. So in that way, he let us down. he doesn't know he's letting us down, but that was interesting to see. Is that what you got for us, Evan?
That's my recap. Let's recap Pop Drop Lock.
Okay, so here's the deal. We had last week off, as I mentioned. Can everybody still hear? Okay, my computer kind of froze up. That's weird. Oh, you hit a button, Ben. Didn't
you? I went to 5 up as soon as you hit.
That's okay. I got it. Here we go.
I was like, what just happened?
I'm going to assume that my audio is still going through, but it's kind of doing this weird frozen thing. But okay. We didn't do our picks publicly. If you'd like to see what our picks are or were, go to popdroplock.com, hit leaderboard, pick Jonesboro. You can see on the far right column, it says the host, and our names will be listed there for what we did, where we placed. So not getting into all of our picks unless there's one you would really like to highlight as like why you did really bad or why you did really good. That's fair. We'll get into our picks for music.
Picked AB to win.
Okay, you picked AB to win. There you go. Nothing.
And did you win though?
No, well, I mean, AB won, so in a sense, I won.
No,
but
no.
points.
We'll
wise,
get into the points.
No.
We'll get into the points, but yeah, I feel like at first round, you look at the scores. You can't rely on first round. I picked Own to drop, and she was like 25th, 30th place, and I was like, well, that was a good pick. She still dropped, but that's because she's averaging third. But like besides that, the points are getting harder to come by, way harder. Because as these averages dial in, you're getting very average. This is how they always usually do, and it's going to be harder to get any points one way or another. But some people have figured it out. Let me read off for you real quick the winner, which, by the way, I'm going to send an email over. It's the username Powerful Stork. Check
Nice.
this out. MPO Pop. Why? They just knew. Connor O'Reilly got him 43 points as a pop. Guess who they picked to drop? Nicholas Antila. That's 41-point drop. They picked Antila to drop. That's 41.
I didn't even notice that he finished that low. That stinks.
That's a topic to talk about later. They picked AB to win. So when you put those three together, they just like exploded. Guess who they picked to pop FPO? Elizra. Like somehow they knew she was going to place fifth place. Natalie Ryan was a total drop. Wasn't even at the event. So that's a 0. That's the only one they missed. Other than that, Kristen Tatar, 25 points.
That's insane.
Won. So they picked everything nearly perfect.
Nice job, Stork.
Yeah. Nice
Stork.
job. We'll be sending an email over to you. You are going to win a hooligan prize. We will be doing our picks later, and we'll get into the whole hooligan presentation later. But for our points reveal, here's how it goes. Ben, you're up first. Just like that, 6 points for Ben. 6 points. Better than negative.
Yeah, Madison Walker, please play next event. That's all I got to say.
Fun fact, and this is a loophole for now, and we're okay with this loophole for now until we change it. If you picked Madison Walker and she had played, if she got last place, she still got you 4 points.
That's what I'm saying.
Because her average was worse than the amount of players at the
she's
event.
registered for all the events, and I've been picking her, and then she just isn't there. I don't know.
And that won't usually happen because she played U.S. Women's, which had a huge field. Didn't perform well there. Now the field's dropped down. Eventually it'll work out, but you can pick her if that's what you want, but she just punished you.
I am.
Okay, so here's the second set of points is going to be me. 21 points. Not good, not negative. Maybe this is getting closer to where we'll end up for the season in these 20s points. I don't know. But next up, Josh, 23 points. 2 more than me. Good job.
Nice.
And then Nick, you're up next. You're not number one this week, but you got 34. So good job.
We had very similar picks, so I'm surprised I got a couple more than you.
I am too. One of our picks that was the same that I was hoping for more out of, and this is another talking point another time. Luke Humphreys.
Yeah.
He is playing so well
He's
this
playing
season.
so
Still
well.
to this
I picked
point.
him too. I picked him too to drop.
You know, what's funny is I picked him as a drop, and that was probably the worst thing I could have done because he was playing in his home state.
I know.
So I'm like, you know.
But that's not always how it
Is he
works
an
out.
Arkansas
Kevin
guy?
Jones hasn't been doing
I'm
great.
thinking Kevin
Merch.
Jones. Never mind.
And Cat Merch.
No, Luke Humphreys is from Arkansas as well.
Is he an
isn't
Arkansas guy too?
I think
Arkansas or Texas, maybe, but
I think it's Arkansas.
it kind of does.
Rocks.
Touch.
Okay.
Texas,
Arkansas has rocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally, we have, I don't know how you did it. I think we changed the rules for you this week or something. Evan gets 64 points. He almost doubled the best of us.
Almost double. Well, I've been sitting at the bottom all year, or like bottom 2. Maybe
Bottom
I'd
2.
make a third.
Yeah.
So it was about time. I got to thank Ben for picking a player who doesn't play. That's certainly helpful. I don't get any negative points because Ben's otherwise been having some good pop picks, and I'm really regretting that choice to take his pops as
You
my
can change
drop.
it anytime.
I sure can, but I'm not giving up. I'm sticking to it, and it proved right this week. But yeah, shout out Emily Beach for having a great. I forget where exactly she finished, but I'm pretty sure it was top 5. She was on lead card final round.
Yeah.
And she was playing phenomenal. Got me lots of points there. Both my lock picks made podium, so I didn't get the win like Nick picking AB yet again, but I did get some good finishes there. So good to see, and excited to get first next week again. You got to brag when you're on top. because I can't brag when I'm on bottom and got to get it out at some point.
Yeah,
So
you are on top this week, but you are still on the bottom. So
for the season, I am.
I literally did not have time to prep this, but I tabulated the scores while you were giving them, Matt.
Okay,
so,
where's it at now?
Well, this is what's interesting. So Nick just passed Matt this week.
For the lead?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
By 1 point.
By 1?
Yeah.
Dude,
Nick's ahead by 1 point.
Nice.
Matt's 1 point back, and then a little bit further off, you've got Ben, and then you have myself, and then you have Evan. And Evan, I think I'm 31 points ahead of you. So with another good week like that, you'll
be not last.
Right on up. Yeah.
Oh man!
But
So I got some work to do.
Congrats.
I think I've used Kristen 3 times and potentially AB 3 times, but maybe
so you're running
twice.
out. Yeah, I got to go check on.
I need to because I usually screenshot them all. But I've used AB 2 or 3 times now, and I'm assuming we're doing 5 picks for everyone.
Yeah,
for locks, right?
Correct.
I almost went Kristen this week, but I just I mean, I should. You should use it if she wins, but I just was like,
I'm saving.
I want to save it for the majors, but should have used it. But that's okay.
Yep. So
okay. We have Ben Callaway in the green room. However, we're having a few audio technical difficulties. We're hearing him, and we're hearing the birds in the background.
The Tweety birds.
I'm sure the show can't. I'm sure the show probably can't hear it. I think.
No, they can't.
But I will tell the show what we're pleasantly hearing in the background is beautiful songbirds. Like they must be coming through Ben's mic. But anyway,
so I'm having him try a few different things and multitasking. I appreciate the other host here. Multitasking and literally troubleshooting technical while we're having conversations
is impossible.
So pop drop lock will happen. We'll bring it back at the end of or somewhere in about 30 or 40 minutes to do our picks for Music City Open. I think it could be fun to have a pop drop lock of us as hosts. Like who's going to pop off on their picks for the week? It looks like Evan did. Evan was the pop winner.
Let's go. You would have got some good points if you picked me. Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
That's fun. I like that.
All right. Can you hear us now, Ben? No? Okay, good. All right. Well, nobody else hears you, but now I'm just talking to myself, apparently. No, I'm kidding. We're good. I think we're ready. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Ben Callaway. Welcome to the show, Ben. That was a little bit of fun multitasking. We could hear you, then we couldn't hear you, then we were hearing birds, and then you can hear us now. That's wonderful. I'm going to hand this over to Nick in just a second, but all right, have you made it up to Nashville yet?
Yeah, we actually just got in about 3 or 4 hours ago. Got all settled into the Airbnb, and now we're just hanging out.
Okay, awesome. Well, actually, and you're probably familiar with Nick and myself, but I'm going to pass it over to Nick. He's going to take this conversation away.
Sounds good.
What up, Ben Callaway? Congratulations on an awesome finish. First off, how does it feel?
The finish feels good, honestly. A little bittersweet, but overall, I'm very happy with how I played.
So finishing second place, and this is back-to-back years at Jonesboro where you have finished second place at this event. What is it about this course or this event or just kind of, you're warming up to finish out the year? What is it about this event that kind of gets you going?
Well, Jonesboro, the this side of heaven, the course suits my game extremely well, especially when it's windy. I feel like I play quite well in the winds, especially with having some very consistent overstable discs. But the shot selections, the distances of the holes, it just plays exactly to how my game, it really shines is the word I'm trying to use.
So what other courses on the road do you feel like are similar to Disc Side of Heaven to where you can showcase your game a little bit more where you are comfortable?
DDO is another course that I feel pretty comfortable playing on, the country club. Here in Music City, Nashville, Mill Ridge is actually another course that's, pretty wide open. It's windy. I feel pretty good here. It's just a matter of conditions at that point. But for one other course that I don't know why, but it's probably just because the back nine I score really well on. But MVP, Maple Hill, I usually play pretty well there as well, which is kind of strange because it's like the exact opposite of Jonesboro. Everything's in the woods and, you got to keep some tight lines and throw some slower discs. But, I grew up in Iowa and the Quad Cities. So our disc golf is like a culmination of everything. We have wide open courses. We have some wood courses. So I learned to play a lot of, the same, not the same, sorry. I learned to play like the all trades of disc golf, but wide open courses usually are my go-to.
Very cool. I want to get into kind of the final round here at Jonesboro. Are you a score checker as you're playing? Are you checking to see how everyone else is doing and how you yourself are matching up with everyone?
So not until this year, I wasn't. I was never a score checker. I usually just play my game and don't even bother. But this year, I've actually been more adamant about it, trying to just figure out like where I am, what I need to do, what I should, what not do. But so I was checking scores, I think on like hole 10, and that's when I realized I was tied for the lead. And I believe it was hole 10 where I was tied for the lead, and I was like, okay, well, now it's crunch time, and we need to just play our game like we know we have at Jonesboro.
Mentality wise, how does that affect you going into the final 9 holes?
Surprisingly, I was calm as ever, which in years past, normally I would probably let that get to me. But going into hole 11, knowing that like I knew that a birdie there would be kind of good. Like I just saw 3 of my other card mates kind of shank their drives. The wind was picking up big time. There was like 20, maybe 30 mile an hour gusts. It felt like raging headwind. And I just went up there and laced the drive, and it felt so good. And I remember in that moment, I just felt so calm. And it was from that point on that I was just thinking to myself, you know what, just keep your head down and just throw these shots that you know how.
So this year, the Discs Out of Heaven kind of changed up their layout. They changed a couple of the holes with it, but they changed up where you guys started and finished on the course. How do you feel as a touring pro? How did you like that change?
So me personally, I'm not really a big fan of ending on par 3s. That's just my opinion. I'm not a big fan of it. I loved the old hole 18. Such a wonderful par 4 to end on, such a big score separator. You have to hit that gap, and it's just, I miss it. But I understand why they did it. Tournament Central was at Old Hole 1, which is now 11. And, it can get pretty rowdy and loud. And there's some neighbors that live in the area that don't really like that. So that's why they moved it to over at Hole 14 now, to make room for Party Central. And, and spectating seemed to be a little bit easier for them, which is great. But for me as a competitor, I enjoyed old hole 16, 17, and 18. And like the new ones are fine. It was still fun to play on, but it just didn't seem like it was the same Jonesboro.
What is the feeling, and this, might kind of open up a soft spot, but bogeying the final hole, what are you thinking in your head? Are you going back to the scoring tent where you're only 1 stroke back? I mean, if 2 of the players, Calvin, AB, if they both take bogeys on the hole, then we've got a big playoff going on. But what are you feeling when you get back to the scoring tent after 18?
Well, after I made my bogey putt, I went over, and I mean, obviously, I just assumed I lost the tournament. I just assumed that they're going to throw all their drives and bounds and make their putts for birdie, and that's just the end of the story. But Ezra was like, "Hey, man, there's still like a potential chance. It's like it's small, but there's still a chance." And I thought about it for a second. I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. There is a small chance." But knowing AB with how he's playing, and that hyzer shot is exactly his style of throw. So, like, I was pretty upset, and it, just kind of sucks knowing that you lost the tournament on the last hole. But overall, it wasn't. It wasn't, like I said, it was a little bit bittersweet because I played so well up to that point, and I couldn't hold my head down. I had to hold my head high because of how well I played, and that's kind of where I was trying to keep my mental at that point, just knowing that I played that well to even have the chance.
So you've been on the kind of the disc golf, touring grind for a good number of years now. You probably have one of the most consistent schedules of you're an early riser. You have a schedule, you have a routine that you kind of go through every single day. You, over the last, I think it was last year or the year before that, you were on Discraft's elite team, and then going into this season, kind of bump back down to the tour team. Does a finish like this help increase those chances of getting back up to the elite team? And I guess I would say also, were there any chances in the off season of maybe Discraft wasn't the right spot for you.
I would certainly, yeah, I would agree that having a finish like this would have hopefully a spot to be on the elite team, and more to come, because it's not every day with how hard the competition is getting and the level of talent that's coming through to be able to have podium finishes these days. They're so far and few in between. And what was the second part of your question again?
I would say kind of, were there any chances going from the elite team back down to the tour team, as I think what they call it is, were there any chances of you saying, you know what, I feel like I'm an elite team player, maybe Discraft isn't the right spot for me right now? Like, were there any chances of you leaving Discraft? You've been with them for a large number of years now.
Yeah, I mean, there was definitely maybe a chance. I was trying to weigh my options in the off season, just what would best suit for myself, for my family. And, I tried making some phone calls with some people that I know of other, in the sport. But ultimately it was the best decision for me to stay with Discraft with everything that was happening during the off season with all the moves that were being made.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of family, you do have a family. You're a full-time touring pro with a wife and a child out there. How is that balance in life as a touring professional disc golfer?
It's a struggle sometimes. It's very difficult. I get homesick quite a bit because when I first started touring 4 years ago, my daughter was only 3 years old. So when I left, she didn't really understand the concept of time. So when Daddy left, and I came back 2 months later, she was just like, "Oh, Daddy's home." But now she's soon to be going into second grade, and she's so smart, and so she's getting so old, and she knows when Daddy's gone, and she misses me all the time, and it's just so hard when I'm FaceTiming them and all like she's just like, "I miss you. I wish you were here," and I'm like, I wish I was too, but this is my job, and I got to go out and do it.
Definitely. And we've seen over the last few years the tour schedule, especially now with just being Elite Series and majors events, but we've seen such a packed schedule that you guys don't really have much time off to where, and also it depends on where you live. You're in the Quad Cities of Iowa. I mean, it all depends on kind of when you make it back there. And so, I mean, is Des Moines, kind of the closest event to you?
Well, I live in the Midwest tour for me is actually, yeah, I'm very blessed to have that because the Preserve, Des Moines, Jonesboro, and DDO, and Peoria, all these events are within 6 hours of me. And being on tour, with traveling, you know what it's like. Driving 6 hours is like nothing.
Yeah.
You can make that trip in a night if you really have to, if you want to go back home and sleep in your own bed. And when the Midwest tour hits, that's what I do. So as soon as we're done in Nashville here, and we go up to Peoria, I'm going to go visit my family for a day, come back and play the major. And then after that, go back home, stay a day, and then go drive out to DDO and do the whole thing.
Yeah. And so you're still kind of running the car life, getting Airbnbs with friends. Is that how it's still working?
I'm actually traveling with all Finns this year.
Nice.
I'm traveling with 5 of them.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's a pretty packed crew. Yeah, nice.
It's been a trip. It's been fun.
Definitely. So coming off the second place, I mean, what does this kind of look like in the future? Is this where you feel like this is where your game normally should be played on? You were saying earlier how hard it is to actually squeeze in a podium nowadays on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Do you feel like skill level wise and game wise, is this where you kind of feel yourself in that top 2, top 5, top 10 scenario? That's where you should be week in and week out?
Honestly, yes. That with the skill set that I have and the talent that I have, yes. What it comes down to for me, I'm sure a lot of players can attest to this, is just the mental side. Like I said, when I was in that final round on the back 9, I'd never felt more calm. And it was kind of a surreal moment because, I'm leading the event at an Elite Series tournament, and I'm charging. I'm putting the pressure on the guys that are on lead card, and I felt so. I felt, I don't know how else to say it, but I just felt like zen. But like if I can keep that mental state for the rest of the year with the way how I'm throwing and putting the disc, I don't doubt that I'll be able to finish on the top like this at tournaments to come.
Definitely, especially with a few more that you say you normally have some good success at.
Yeah.
Any of the guys on the panel, do you guys have any questions to throw at Ben?
Sure, I can follow up. You can bring me up. Hey, Ben, this
good.
is Josh. Thanks for joining us on the show. Actually, just to comment on what you said, kind of like Zen or your mental state. I think watching on the broadcast, we could actually tell. So like, not only was it maybe internal to you, but you could just see the focus, kind of the all business, but the relaxed approach. And obviously your performance, showed. Curious, were there any particular holes during, let's say, the final round in hindsight where you might have made a different decision about your approach on the hole? Or did, was the approach exactly what you wanted and maybe the execution, struggled at the end? Would you do anything different?
I would definitely say just the execution. The only one that sticks out to me is just the throw I had on 18. Just like I gave it the exact power that I wanted. I just threw it too flat out of the hand and didn't quite give it enough of the height. But like the power felt good, the release felt good. I just threw it not enough hyzer and didn't give it like the height. If it was, I mean, obviously woulda, coulda, shoulda, but if it was like maybe 20, 30 feet higher, I feel like it would have been in bounds because the power felt good. Other than that, I mean, I've seen some people saying like, why'd you lay up on 14 and like the spit out on hole 11. Like the spit out on hole 11 is just whatever. I mean, that happens. I mean, that comes with the sport. I mean, it was an uphill putt. Yeah, it was in the bullseye, but it was a 25-mile-an-hour headwind. And on those baskets with how light those chains are, it's not an easy putt. Like no putt's guaranteed, especially in those conditions. So yeah, like you said, I think it was just the execution and mainly just 18 is the one that sticks out for me.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. So on this course, we see, well, obviously the wind's part of it. The hills, the greens, we see plenty of rollaways. We see, people shots hitting the base and kicking off and rolling or missing a putt and standing up. Just curious from your perspective, does that come into the decision making for you and how you actually play a hole? Like, are you more cautious around the hole? Are you putting differently? Or do you say, no, if I execute, then that doesn't happen? Or do you actually adjust anything? Because this is actually a debate on whether or not players should putt differently on them or whether they should drive differently on those rollaway greens. Do you account for that?
Ooh, interesting. So I'm assuming you're talking about when Calvin hit.
That's a prime example, but we saw plenty of people also putt and roll away. Simon, others I've seen.
Well,
but yes, the Calvin one is a perfect example.
Yeah, I think that was just unlucky for him. He's just too good of a. He just hit the base twice, and like, what are the odds of that? So, I would say that I would take an approach differently. Like, I definitely played very smart this weekend. I didn't force anything. I felt like except. No, not even except. I don't feel like I had forced anything this weekend. If there was a wind that was not right, and I was on like let's say hole 7's green, that if I could miss the putt and it could roll down the hill, then bogey comes into question. I more than likely would have laid that putt up this weekend, and so yeah, I would agree with you. Yeah, I would definitely play the whole different depending on like how the green is and how the wind is. But then again, it's difficult to do that when you're in the final round. You got to make up strokes and you have to make certain putts. But I think it's all situational also because early in the round, you don't really need them that bad. But later in the round, if you're struggling and you need strokes, then you gotta make something happen eventually.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It certainly creates plenty of debate. We hear it on the live broadcast about like, hey, should this player go for this or not, given this circumstance, the wind, the rollaways. So always interesting to hear insights from players like yourselves. So one other just thing, totally unrelated to that. But I am sure you're making your wife and it's your daughter, right? Like proud out there. I am curious, do they watch live? And if so, do you get a message when that round ends? I presume from your wife or maybe even daughter.
Yeah, my wife watches every single broadcast that she can, even more so when I'm on it. So, and it's so funny too that you mentioned this because my daughter watched it for the first time like like me, like, because I was on the broadcast. Normally, if this,
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, I want to watch cartoons, you know, like let's do something else. But this was the first time she actually watched the entire, you know, broadcast with me being on it. And when my wife told me that, you know, I got a little emotional because she was just so like supportive. Like she's 7 years. She was just, you know, screaming, "Yeah, go, Dad!
That's awesome.
Dad, make this birdie!" It was just, yeah.
Good. Well, like literally, this is not just cliche. I genuinely mean this. Like, obviously, whether you come out on top, she's seeing you as like a champion, right? And that is just awesome. I've got 3 kids myself, and can't imagine what that would be like. So, I'm sure you've got some great performances ahead of you. So, Matt, I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, I've got 2. One, it's not to be debated so much as just to get an initial reaction from you, and it's probably going to be like a lot of others, but Gannon audibly in the live coverage said, "Hey, these baskets suck." Corey Ellis makes a social post, I think it was today, saying that he goes, even regardless, I'm not talking Gannon style putts. He says, I'm talking normal putts. He goes, we got to do something. Disc Golf Pro Tour, call for it, all this and that. Spit outs have been a thing forever, and they probably will always. But just generally put, do you feel any, like, you played okay, obviously you've got second. You think baskets like this need to be reconsidered?
I mean, yes and no, because the way how I approach these types of baskets is that no putt's ever guaranteed. And like, I don't care if it's calm conditions, windy conditions, weird things can happen inside these baskets. And there's no like perfect basket that is standardized. I mean, everyone has their own preferences, but for me, like when a spit out happens, to be honest, I'm actually expecting it. Like whatever, it's going to happen, and it happens. And then you move on. But I would agree with the fact that these chains are a lot lighter than most baskets. I do feel like the chains probably need to be a little bit heavier. As far as the configuration on the inside of it, I don't know what the perfect, like, I don't know what that would be for it to be a perfect putt. Because like Gannon, you know, when he said that on hole 14, like, I saw the putt. I watched it. It was perfect. It went dead center, but that thing was rifled.
Yeah.
But he has to rifle it because it's a raging headwind.
Right.
So I don't even know if that would have stuck even on a chain star. Like, I don't know.
Right.
Because it was so hard.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't have exactly, but I just, my stance on it is that, you know, they're going to happen. You just got to roll with the punches and move on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just going to be a conversation for forever. I was just curious your opinion on that. And then finally, and just wrapping this up, unless anyone wants to interject here at the end here, you mentioned that you're traveling with non-Americans.
Yeah.
And is there any like fun food that you've been introduced to now, like traveling with them more than you're introducing food to them? Like, has it gone both ways or not yet?
It's about the same, honestly. Like they just have different recipes for some of the foods that we, you know, use here. Like hamburger helper, basically, but they just add some more ingredients into it. But I'm like, this is hamburger helper, basically, and they're like, oh, but it's so much better. Like, look, we put ketchup on it. I'm like, oh, okay, like, good. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty similar. Other than the fact that all they do is speak Finnish all the time, so I'm just kind of like in my own little world.
Yeah, I actually have a question. At MVP Open, I overheard them calling you Daddy Ben. Is this still the case? Are you their dad and helping them out?
Well, in the sense of like I was the only one with the car, so driving them everywhere. It literally felt like I was dad driving kids to their disc practice. So that's why the name Daddy Ben came. But that's actually our Snapchat group name.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hilarious. That's awesome. Yeah, I heard Nicolas saying it. I died inside. I was like, that is hilarious. He's like, Daddy Ben.
Daddy Ben and Fins is the group chat name. And our tour name, I'm going to announce this on this channel. Our tour name is Fins with Benefits.
Fins with Benefits.
I love that.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Oh, that is good. Fins with Benefits. Nice. You start selling shirts. Hey, Actually, before I let you go, it's the small things and that really have made a difference in the sport. And I think people should know that you do something that may come off as small, but it's impactful at I'll say a grassroots level. You are at the U.S. Disc Golf Championship. Me and my boys were sitting there at what's the one throwing down the Coliseum? The big downhill.
14.
Yeah, I think it was 14. And you walked off after putting, and we're leaving everybody alone. There's hundreds of people, hundreds. And I don't know if you made eye contact with me or not, but the point is you walked over to my son and you gave him a patch. And he's probably embarrassed watching the live stream right now, but he became a significant fan of yours just because of that. So when you do that, it makes a difference, Ben, and I appreciate that. Thank you a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. In closing this out, anything that we missed that you want to give a shout out to or talk about before we let you go?
I would just like to, I don't know if my wife's watching or not, but I would just like to say hi to her. I miss you. I love you. Ruby, I love you and miss you too. Shout outs to my sponsors, Discraft, Grip Equipment, Ledgestone, and Culture Shark Barbershop. Also, I'll shout out the Thins as well because, they're they're right here. So I'll shout out to the Thins.
Because you have to. No.
And I'd also shout out you guys. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it, and it's been fun.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ben.
Great job this past weekend.
Yeah, and have a good practice week. No pressure, man. You're doing great. We'll talk to you another time. All right, man. Catch you. Bye.
Take it easy.
All right, everybody. Ben Callaway, great dude, good disc golfer, great disc golfer. He's been on tour a while. I've followed his story for a while. I've heard him on other interviews prior to ever meeting him. Man, a lot of good stuff there, and I can only imagine. Did you see the emotion there when he was talking about his family and being on the road? I mean, that's got to be super tough. So,
Dude, yeah, I couldn't do that, but you can tell, that's Ben. I mean, I'm not using this word flippantly, right? He feels called to do this as a job, right? So, if that's the case, then you're going to do it. And I guess if I believed that in my heart, I would do it, right? And that's the decision he's making. And so this just shows there's some people on the tour who are out there because it's a fun lifestyle, and that's great. That's awesome, right? There's some people who it is all and only about performance. And so everything is all about getting it done. And then, you've probably got anything in between, but people making life career decisions, and Ben's an example of that. And he's got all the skills. He's talked about the mental game. So for him, I think that's where he says that's the separation. But man, to pop up to be second and seventh and sixth and all these finishes and then drop down to 40th and 50th, you just got it. If he can really figure that out and fine tune those things, I'm sure we'll see him more. But
yeah, I think there's a lot of courses nowadays that really suit his game. He was talking about a lot of different courses that actually do very much suit his game. He's a power thrower. He's got a great forehand that he's actually been working on a lot over the last year or two. And when his putting's on, he's an incredibly smooth putter. And I think he's actually putting with the new Kratos. And so getting tuned in with a new disc. And definitely I think we're going to hit a stretch of courses where we'll probably see his name a little bit more. He was actually very, very close to being my pop pick for this week. Going into Music City.
Of course he was, Nick, because he was mine. I had him
Did
in
you
there,
pick him?
and then I took him out.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Man. Oh, you mean for Music City? I was putting him in for Jonesboro, and then I pulled him out.
I didn't even think about Jonesboro for it. But for Music City, I was thinking about it because I was like, it's very, very similar, a kind of course style with it. A couple more, I think, slightly woodier holes over at Music City maybe. But, for the most part, definitely takes distance to win there. Yeah, and we're going to find out here in a minute, but Nick and I keep I'll say reminiscing after our picks. We'll be like, who'd you pick for pop? He's like, this guy. I'm like, I did too. Who'd you pick for? Yeah. And we pick usually about 50% of the same players. We're on the same. I mean, we've done the show. This is our 5th season, Nick. We're I was going to say we're and you showed me disc golf, and we've known each other for probably 20 plus years now. And but we saw each other on Saturday up at the New England Disc Golf Center. And we were going through our picks, and Matt's like, I picked him too. I picked her too. And I was like, oh my God. Paul Macbeth pop, Luke Humphreys drop. And then FPO, we had 2 of the same, I think. So it was something like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into
pop, drop, lock picks for Music City Open. Okay. I don't know why it went to 4 up here. Just hit 5 up, maybe. Try that.
Bye, Evan got first
I'll
place.
pop-
Yeah,
Just
I'm
didn't
back
allow
off.
it.
I don't know. I
Hold
get a
on,
kick
I'll
out
pull
of
it
somebody in
back
the chat asked, what happened to
take
Evan's
it.
shirt? Where's Evan's shirt?
It's Aloha Evan. There we go. It worked this time. Perfect. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to start at the top. We'll run it down as the list here shows. So Nick, you're going to be up first. I'm pulling them up for you. Go ahead and give us your picks. What stands out to you?
My boy Ezra, I think, is still averaging technically in the 20s right now, but he has been popping off lately, and I think this course is another course that suits his game very well. So Ezra Adahold was my pop pick. Culver Dolan was my drop, and there's no specific reason except he's got a good average, and I'm unfortunately hoping that he doesn't play well just so I get points for the drop. That's about it. I love Cole. I think he's an awesome kid. Yeah. No hard feelings. I need the points, Cole. No, I'm just kidding.
Can't say that. Yep.
It just tells you how good he's doing. You're hoping,
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And Ricky Wysocki for a lock. I think he's itching for that first win of the 2024 season. I think he could play great here. He did have a pretty good finish here last year. I think was in the top 5. I remember him and Simon played first or second round together. But it was very fun to watch. Pop pick for the FPO side, Katrina Allen, I think is on the rise. Her game is getting a little bit better right now. I think this is her tournament to really pop off. Henna Blomroos, same thing, no real specific reason. This actually is a great course for Henna's throwing. It's all going to determine on her putting. And we say that pretty much week in and week out. But she is my drop pick. And then because I can't pick Kristen every single event, Evelina is kind of my number 2 right now. I think she's so good. Like her and Holland Hanley, her and Missy Gannon. There's so many other great players out there. But Evelina Salonen, I do think this course actually very well suits her game. Once again, though, it's going to come down to the putting green. But those are my picks.
Yeah, those are good. And Nick, I didn't pick any of the same. Wow. This is incredible. I did pick Holland, though, for the last one. I thought maybe she'd pull it off. That would have been big time. But here we go into Music City. I am picking Simon to pop. Now, we kind of saw him do that here, but his average is still low enough for the season, and I think he's starting to pick up the steam that he needs. I think
even with the back hurting him?
Yeah, he's fine. He's my back hurts, and I just did team challenge last week, so we're good to go.
Didn't you guys get booted the first round?
Oh,
Yeah.
Wait, aren't you guys good?
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth here that Nick. I'm not going to give it to him, but all right.
That's all right. We lost in the championship.
You can throw it out. Yeah, Nathan Queen drop. Now, that's just roll the dice here a little bit. Just looking at previous seasons and where he's at now, I think there's a likelihood that he underperforms. But do you notice my lock on screen, if you're watching live, is also Simon Lizotte. Now, you know who did this was Josh in the first chess.com. He picked AB as a pop and a lock, and it worked out for him. If you feel it and it works, it works. So come on, Simon. Come on, Simon. And then for my FPO pop, Allie Smith, we haven't heard a lot from her. I feel like she's performing, I'll say, under her abilities, and I think she's going to play well here, looking at previous year's stats. Stacy Kiefer, I don't need to give you a lot on her. I'm just going to pick her to drop here. And then Kristen Starr is a lock. Now, I have only picked her twice. This is my third. Just a reminder to everybody, you can only pick a player 5 times in your lock slot.
That's for us.
No, that's everybody. And so if you win,
really.
if you win the whole pop drop lock, we check that. We go back and we look and see have they picked anybody. To this point, we 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 events. So this would be, if you pick someone straight through, this would be the end of it. So make
these
sure
are only for lock picks, correct?
Only for lock picks. Okay. That's it. Just so what Nick
make
said.
Sure everyone knows.
Just what
Ben,
Nick said.
you
So
that?
you can't keep picking. Yeah.
I'm putting it in my brain.
We're not just saying like we might want to make it a rule. We're saying it is a rule. All right. Moving into Ben. Go ahead and give us who you picked.
All right. So pop, I'm going with my boy What happened? What?
Madison
What?
Walker again.
What?
I hope she plays.
Yes,
and
me
I hope
too.
she gets you points.
Yes, me
Madison's
too.
a great person. I'll be quiet and let you go.
Paul Kranz, my boy, he hasn't been playing up to his standards, and he has a sort of low finish. But I believe in the kid that he's gonna start doing well. It's just a matter of time. Luke Humphreys, same sentiment Matt was saying later. He's been playing out of his mind, so to speak, at least from last year's comparison. So I'm just gonna keep picking him to drop, and if he keeps doing well, then I just won't get points. Lock's going to be Gannon Burr because, AB, Gannon Burr, those are two safe plays in the MPO field at least. Pop, Madison Walker, she's 54 average. Please, Madison, please play. I don't know why you're not playing. I don't know if you're injured, but if you're not, please.
How many FPO are registered here? Let's see.
In clarification, because we talked about this a couple weeks ago, us hosts whoever we say here on the show right now is our we're locked in. We can't change our picks unless they drop. Now Ben knows this rule now. He tries to drop when they don't drop, but he can't do that.
Yep.
He also hasn't been changing them when they do drop, and just
that's also a problem, right? You
gotta wake
up
I
at
don't
6:30
check.
a.m.
Yeah, it's just
so
like, how am I
you
supposed
got to
to
pay
know?
attention, see if Madison's going to play. It's a trend. So maybe she signed up all at the beginning and didn't
Maybe you
realize
should
that
send
she
her a
still signed
DM.
up. And it's
I'm gonna
I don't know what's going on with
please
Madison.
play.
I hope she plays, but there could be a chance she doesn't, and that's on you, Ben.
I know.
Keep an eye on
I know
that,
it's on
since
me.
she's your
I know
pup.
it's on me. I know it's on me. But
Well, you haven't been doing it yet.
I'm
But
just
Ben's beating Evan by 70 points. So.
Sure. Great job, Ben. But
I
you
think
could be
I've
better.
only had one event that all my players have played.
Wait. We haven't even talked about this.
So you're playing with one hand tied behind your back, is what
Yes.
you're saying?
Quick tangent. Ben and I played a tournament on Friday,
no.
a flex start, different divisions, but somebody came out on top with the same layout, and it
Where was it
not
at?
Ben. It was me.
Westy.
What did I
At
win by?
Westy
5
Acres?
strokes, Ben?
5?
I don't know.
It was something like 5. Ben started out with the turkey, was looking great. I'm like, oh shoot, I ain't catching this kid. I bogeyed the first hole, wasn't looking good. Ben proceeded to do Ben things and miss a lot of putts. I flipped it around and didn't look back. So, thanks, Ben. I keep on thinking it's the end of me ever beating you. I'm just like, Ben's too good.
Keep
thinking it's
the
He's
end.
too good. I'm never beating him again. And then just every once in a while, Ben just gives me a nice gift and says, "Here,
Yeah,
Evan,
I'm
you can beat me now."
slumping. I'm definitely in my head on my putt, and I'll just real
But
quickly.
you figured it out.
I haven't.
Halfway through, you're like, "I figured it out,"
But
and we're all
I don't know.
excited.
But I have.
But I didn't.
Okay, back to the
no,
picks.
wait, real quick.
Okay, all right.
It's story. Before that round, I played in a flex start at Maple Hill Reds. I shot +8.
No.
For that comparison, I shot when I first started playing disc golf, first time ever at Maple Hill playing Reds.
No, you
I
did
shot
not.
a +7.
No, you did not.
So I beat my
Oh,
my
I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to
2020.
laugh.
So I'm just in a
Was
slump.
that like
I'm
700
rattled.
rated?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It was 800 or around there. It was probably 800. So I'm in a slump. I'm just in my head about my putt, but it's okay. I'm gonna keep putting and I'm gonna be good. It's all gonna be
Are
okay.
you practicing 20-footers?
Yes, I
No,
I
you're not.
actually am. Yes, I
No,
am.
you're not.
Yes, I am. You can
How many are you
ask
doing
me.
today?
You can ask me. I was doing it today, and yesterday and the day before, and I
Once you
think
got into
do,
the
my
slump,
friends.
then you started practicing again.
No. I think I need. It's just in tournament. I just get so scared to miss that I just lose my stroke. It's just like I don't think about making it. I just think, oh my goodness, and then I shake. So I gotta just get confident. That's
okay,
all.
moving
Anyways.
over to Josh's picks.
Thanks for letting me tangent.
Here we
Yeah,
go.
no worries.
Josh, who you
He
got?
beat me.
Hey, so Nick, I think I have 4 of the same
Whoa.
6 as you.
Wow. Yeah, you do.
So Pop Austin Turner, he's played okay at MCO in the past, and he's a 50 average, so I'm just playing the numbers. Cole Redallin for my drop. Calvin Heimberg for the win. And then in FPO, I think we look at that straight down the line.
We're exactly the same.
Yeah, and we didn't we don't talk before, so that's interesting how that happens. Katrina Allen, Henna, which again I don't love my Henna pick, similar to you, but it is what it is. And then Evelina. So there you go.
I picked Henna to drop too.
It's really tough because there's so many good
numbers
players,
are getting harder.
and like averages are like right there right now, and it's like
it's the over under. It is.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So we can still have good picks, but it's hard to win 20 points. It's
it's hard to get a lot.
It's like
more
she's
points.
8th, and honestly, I think she might finish 10th. So I'm like, well, at least I get 2 points.
You
Like
get
the
2
margins
points
are
out of it.
tighter and tighter.
Exactly.
I will also say it could be fun, Josh, maybe 8 events in to see if there's a trend for which players get picked most often for a position, like pop or drop, for instance, because I think I was thinking about this, and players who you're picking to drop are players that fluctuate a lot. Like they're just unstable players. They can do great, or they can the same thing for pop. You're not picking the stable players usually, which is fun.
You're giving me your strategy.
Yeah, but I mean, like nobody's picking Chris Dickerson ever because he just sits there at like 8th to 12th or whatever. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. So you don't hear about the players who are really consistent. You hear about the players who are fluctuating or the winners.
Except for the lock.
Wait,
obviously.
Matt, didn't you pick Calvin Heimberg like 2-3 events ago?
To drop, yes.
Yeah. So he, Mr. Consistent right there. I'm not trying to poke holes in your strategy. It's a great strategy. But
it wasn't a strategy. I said I think that's what's happening is people look for the players who, and that's the trend I want to see. Because if we looked at this last week, and I'm sorry we can't do this and I'm talking about it, but if we looked at this last week's picks, I bet you we see a lot of Luke Humphrey drops picks. I mean, Nick and I can't be alone in that. There's probably a lot. And the fact that you guys just doubled up on your FPO picks perfectly, like there's something to be said that people are dialing in onto these players that stand out in that way. All right, moving into Evan's picks here, which should populate with automatically with Ben's drops as your pops. Here we go. Evan, tell us about your picks.
Yeah, sure. And drops are probably the hardest picks to make. So I do get a pass there, although the limiting factor of quality of picks. In MPO pop, I'm going Tuomas Heitinen. If I'm pronouncing that correctly, is he one of the Finns?
Yes, he is.
With Ben Callaway.
Ben's
Look
with
at that.
Daddy Ben.
So going to get a little bit of that magic. The Finns have been passing around, and Ben Callaway was the honorary Finn this past week. He actually Tuomas had a pretty solid finish at Jonesboro, but he also did well at Music City. Just loving that average finish for lots of room to grow. Ben gave me Paul Kranz. No clue what he's averaging, but I'm sure he wishes it was better. That's a hard number to do worse than, unfortunately. But I mean, great kid. Wishing him the best. Not this week though. And then Mr. Richard Wysocki getting the victory. I don't know his history at this event. The only thing I could think of was 2021 National Tour finale at Music City Open, but I don't know if that was the same course or not. It might have been a different one. And he also lost in playoff. I think it was one
playoff with him and Mason Ford.
So I just was feeling it. I just had this hunch. I'm saving my ABs apparently still, but going for that. In FPO, my trusty Emily Beach, as in that sounds weird, but she
my trusty,
fantastic.
That'll do, my friends.
She did fantastic at Jonesboro. Really popped off in her average. Hasn't really bounced up enough yet after that, one fantastic finish. So I'm picking her again. And then Madison Walker. Excuse me. I'm all flustered now.
Please, Madison Walker, play.
Listen, Madison Walker automatically gets you minus points. You know why? Because there's 48 people registered.
Not if she drops and Ben doesn't change it.
Yeah, she doesn't.
Then I get 0 points, and that's what's happening. And I'll go positive with the rest of my picks.
Okay.
And then Holland Hanley, I think I picked her last weekend for Jonesboro and got that podium finish.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked her quite a few times, which isn't to say that I'd rather lock her in than Kristen Tatar or Owen Scoggins or something. But I am playing the game of saving all my Kristen picks, and I feel like Holland Hanley's playing pretty well right now. Could get the win, but do feel pretty good for like a top 5 finish. So sticking with it.
I'm assuming it's Josh in Overthrow Disc Golf's username here in the chat, and he said, "No, she's yours."
No, I did not mean it to sound that way. So apologies.
My trusty Emily Beach.
My trusty Emily Beach. It was
just a
awesome.
great pick last week. So that's how I felt
It was
about that.
fantastic. This is the fun of the game. Anybody's a fair pick here, and we invite everybody else to join in to do this. Go over to popdroplock.com. Hooligan Discs. This segment is presented by them. They are supporting this segment before we ever officially launched it, and they're giving away prizes each week to the winner, which I do need my phone to remind me. Hey Siri, remind me tonight at 10 p.m. to send an email to the winner for the prize they get from Hooligan. And that now will happen, and I'll get that email sent out to the winner. Siri's still recording me. That's not good. I got to sit quiet for a second.
This is what you get for our live
for a second. Though.
It just recorded like a paragraph of me talking. So
Trusty Steed.
My trusty Steed.
Overthrow just.
Awesome comments. So that's just awesome. Hooligan. And Josh, you're wearing the hat tonight.
Yeah,
I didn't. Ben's wearing
the
it.
same one.
I've been wearing that hat all week. Everywhere I go,
Even in Green
love
Bay.
It. It was in Green Bay. It's everywhere. So, all right.
Order the hat.
That's the segment here. In about 30 minutes,
Use
we
code
have
Ben10.
Lia Lorensen about to join the show. She's out on the practice course right now in Nashville at Music City Open. We'll be getting a conversation with her to wrap up the conversation tonight's episode. But before we get into that, I will point out before we bring her in here, and I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit, but LYKKE is doing really well. She was my pop pick for this year, just like a lot of you had AB, or I should say Nick and Josh did. LYKKE has her 2 best finishes so far, and so I'm starting to see the pop happen. So there's hope here. She has a back-to-back 4th place and a 5th place. That's pretty good. I felt like she deserved a conversation tonight for sure. And then
Absolutely.
let's talk about this real quick. Isaac Robinson. Now, this is not a is he washed conversation at all. We haven't even tried to imply that yet to this point. He isn't averaging, obviously, as well as he did last year. I don't think he, at this point, would even be in conversation for Player of the Year. I know we're 5 events in, but my point is he's still yet to show up. But he made an appearance at Jonesboro. He made an appearance.
Yes.
What did it feel like? They showed him throwing, I think, hole 18, right? They showed him throwing some of these shots.
So
it looks good, but you're like, is he going to be able to pop off at these events?
here's the thing. So Champions Cup was before Jonesboro last year, and that was before that he wasn't doing that well, as in last year. And then Champions Cup he wins, boom, and then the rest is history. He just has a history of not doing well at the beginning of the year events, and then Jonesboro he picks it up. So I think he's gonna pick it up.
Okay. What do you think about this? And Evan, you said earlier, whoa, I don't know if I marked that down in your head, at least mentally, but Antilla Niklas, sub 60 finishes in his last 2 events. After, obviously, a really hot 3 first events, he has now finished, I think it's 63 and like 61. I think one of my sons could be quoted as saying, like, he's not doing good anymore. So, like, 2 events in a row. Is there something to be said? Is there something we don't know about? What do you think?
Yeah, so I was surprised to see that. But also, like, here's the thing. We're getting into this new age of disc golf that we constantly talk about. And we're expecting players who can win to get wins, and then maybe kind of fall into the mess of players under the huge stacked leaderboard. So having Niklas go from winning the Open in Austin, and then the next 2 events, correct me if I'm wrong, have been Texas States, and then now Jonesboro, and having, you said outside of 60s, outside of top 60, like not great finishes. I don't know if he's cashing or not. That is kind of what we expected to happen with this new age of disc golf. But then what's throwing us the other way around is players like Anthony Barella getting 3 wins, which we did not expect this early into the season. Then also only finishing in the top 4 in this stretch. Gannon Burr, who has been playing incredibly well and is having all these top 10 finishes. Like Calvin Heimberg felt like the almost anomaly, as we move into this new era last year, and he's doing it again this year. For the most part, kind of this post coming back from the injury, and so it feels like there's more players who are playing this super great consistency and winning than maybe we were expecting. But it's not unexpected for a player like Niklas to get a win and then almost fall into obscurity for a couple weeks and then pop right back up and, be this, great looking player at any given week, as we might expect. If that's making sense to people, I hope it does.
He didn't cash, to your question. He did not cash at the previous two events. So, yep.
But does that thinking, I feel like it makes sense.
I think it does. And I'm not big into golf. I love watching the Masters. Shout out to that, by the way. That was a whole nother event happening this weekend, but it does make sense. You don't see the same players winning realistically. Okay, I'm just going to kind of be quiet on this point, but the long story short is you can see a player go in the top 10 regularly on the Pro Tour, whether it's professional disc golf or professional golf, but you could also see them easily placing 50 or 60. It's your point. It shouldn't be something to be concerned about, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah.
Okay. How about this? There's so many other things to talk about. We've got time to do it, so let's just keep going here, and anybody can chime in on these. Music City Open's Facebook page for the event made a post with turf tee pads as the highlight feature of the post. And they said, hey, be on the lookout. This is going to be the standard for the Disc Golf Pro Tour in 2025. Everybody who read that, including myself, made a quick maybe assumption or the first thought was, oh, the Pro Tour is standardizing tee pads and requiring turf. Now, I did not reach out to Jeff today. I meant to. Nick has some feelings about this. I'll let him kind of share. But my understanding is it is not a requirement for turf tee pads, but it is a standardization. If turf tee pads are going to be used, it has to be a certain kind. Nick, can you kind of fill me in with what you were thinking on this?
Yeah, we knew this actually going into 2024's Chess.com Invitational was there were specific types of turf that you could get, X-Step Pro, Disc Golf Park, and I think there was one or two others, I don't remember. So we had gotten the Disc Golf Park tee pads. They were the ones who, with the kind of the time crunch that we were in, going from setting up the course to the Chess.com Invitational, they were kind of our best opportunity that we had. Our long-term goal is to actually do concrete. We want to do 12-foot circle concrete tee pads at the course. Those are still allowed. That is part of the standard product that the Disc Golf Pro Tour wants to see as their tee pads, standardizing the tee pads. Concrete is still allowed. I think we've seen this year more than other years. I feel like we're seeing more talk about tee pads than we have in the past. Baskets has always been something that I've said for a few years now, that I think baskets need to be standardized a little bit more, and or certain baskets just shouldn't be used for Disc Golf Pro Tour events. But the biggest thing is usually the basket comes from the title sponsor, which right now in disc golf, majority of times is a disc golf manufacturer who also manufactures baskets. So you see a lot of events sponsored by Discraft, Innova, Westside being the latest one, Prodigy, and everyone's got their different takes on baskets. Right now, though, tee pads, from what it seems like, is going forward in 2025. X-Step Pro will be the standard turf tee pad. That courses are now mandatory. You have to have those, or well-done concrete tee pads as well, which is what us at Olympus, that's what we are planning on doing, is concrete.
Yeah, so I guess without having actual confirmation from the Pro Tour, it's seemingly apparent with Nick's insight they're going to be able to do concrete. I don't know if rubber tee pads will be a thing, but the point I'm hearing is if you're going to use turf, it has to be a specific one. And I forget what it's called, Disc Concepts or X Concepts, or I don't know.
Disc Concepts, yes.
Disc Concepts.
Is that the turf that's called X-Step Pro?
Yeah, the company makes it, yes.
Yes.
Makes the X-Step Pro.
It's a disc golf company that makes turf tee pads?
They don't technically make the turf. I think they outsource it.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that turf is great. It's what we've seen at Fox Run when I went up there last year to just hang out for the World Championships, going by and seeing the tee pads. I actually think they're the best looking turf tee pads out there. And from what I've heard, they are usually the better ones of sorts, but it all depends on how they're installed. And what people don't realize as well is it all depends on kind of like what the course is sitting on. Like Olympus sits on an old limestone quarry. And so a lot of exposed limestone turns into clay, and a lot of clay, when it gets on any sort of tee pad, is going to kind of cake up a little bit, and it's going to cause a little bit more slickness. Plus in Florida, it rains a decent amount, sometimes almost every single day. Other courses do deal with those same things. Like depending on when you go to Maple Hill, like if you were to play an Elite Series event in April, you'd more than likely, like I was just up there, it rained 3 out of the 4 days that I was home. So certain things like that. It's weather dependent, it's course dependent, but I do think the XStep Pro stuff is actually really good.
Okay, I'll reply to the commenter because they're regular. Westy Acres. Mandating a particular turf is a bit lame if you're not going to have a standard for pavers and a standard for concrete. This is an interesting take, and I will say that the Pro Tour has not announced this as a standard. This is Music City Open possibly overstepping with their post. Again, I did not reach out here. It's possible. But that being said, it sounds to me like this is the turf that's going to be preferred. If it's going to be installed, I don't know if they're going to make people rip out turf if they already have it. I'm not sure. But at the very least, Music City has tilted their cards or showed their cards a little bit that this is the plan going forward. And maybe there will be a standard, but it's a little harder to rip out concrete if you already have it. You could.
I also don't know what like the standard is. Like, are we talking about like how fine, like grit or fine grain, or is it like, Home Depot only?
Yeah,
like,
no. So it is a difference. A lot of the pros will talk about the way that the artificial turf plays stepping on it, whether it's leaning a certain direction. Number one, it has to be installed a certain way.
Yeah, I'm talking about concrete.
Oh, concrete.
I'm like standardized pavers and concrete. Like
maybe the size. Maybe.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's
whether
hard to
it's
compare. Is my
brushed
point.
or painted.
There are some differences.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. Like the grit, like the grain, the brush. Like I get it.
I wouldn't be surprised if they said no to pavers. And
Maple Hill's out.
Well, so I was going to say and this could be what happens with the exception of being Maple Hill, and depending on if Brewster Ridge has gotten rid of their pavers yet, which I don't 100% remember if they have. But yeah, I
believe they still have Brewster Ridge. I'm pretty sure they have pavers still, right?
That's but I think they were always trying to get to XStep Pro, the turf tee pads over on Brewster. I just don't think they've done it yet.
Yeah, and with the Maple Hill comment, I would assume that it might be like if the course already exists on the tour, then you get to keep what tee pads you have. But if you're a new course or like a transitioning course, or if you're going to put in new tee pads, it has to be the standard. I'm sure there's something like that set up. I know we're kind of
courses are going to get grandfathered in regardless. Yeah. Like, I mean, Maple Hill's been an Elite Series event since 2004, 2005, and it's been a staple to the disc golf Elite Series, National Tour, Disc Golf Pro Tour, whatever playoff series now. To where, Maple Hill's not going to go and rip up every single paver tee pad that they have and go and install something new.
And I mean, Maple Hill's not alone in being a course that's a year round, like more than just an Elite Series course. Yes. Like, that's very important to them. I'm not going to put a weight on how that compares to their everyday use, but both are important. And so having a specific type for the rest of the year is valuable to that course, which I know we're kind of over on this topic, but I do kind of want to throw it to Nick or anyone else who has a point, because I have a question is different type of, Nick, you mentioned limestone quarry and how Olympus sits, but I feel like a course in the woods, let's say Brewster Ridge, it's not able to dry out as well. So in my opinion, which I'm not a T-pad expert by any means, I have no clue. I'm very not worried about the T-pad, but I don't like slipping. At least that's true. I feel like pavers or rubber in the woods where you don't have as much sunlight and it does get rain is best. But did want to throw it to discussion, and maybe Nick, you can explain about this first.
I'll kind of jump on really quick. Brewster Ridge and Fox Run, that's my favorite destination to go to. Fox Run's my favorite course in the world. Brewster Ridge is very, very close to being, also one of my favorite courses. I love the layout of it. I'm not a super aggressive thrower, so I think I have decent footwork enough to where, like, I'm not a slippy and slidey person. I don't have heavy footwork, I would say. But the times that I've gone up to Brewster Ridge, they've gotten better and better every single year, to where they go out with a blowtorch and they dry the tee pads before the tournament starts the next day. Because in September, usually when we go up there's a lot of dew on the ground. People are tracking just that little bit of wetness onto the paper tee pads, to where, it does make them slick, but they go out and they do their best. Where if you have a turf tee pad in the woods, you're not blowtorching it to dry it out. You're taking a push broom and you're hoping that, like, you maybe take a rag or whatever and you try to dry it off as much as you can. But to Evan's point, I think that's a great point, is certain areas are going to have, a better or worse time trying to fix their tee pad day of. I mean, we always, like for chess.com, before the event every single day, we would try to add more sand onto the tee pads, because that's one of the things that the manufacturer recommended, is adding more sand to kind of compact everything. And it worked in some areas, it didn't work in other areas. Some people slip, some people don't slip. It's very, very I don't know. I don't want to say 50-50, but it's a topic that we've talked about a lot more this year than I feel like we ever have in years past.
All right.
Is T-pad discussion mostly about player safety? Is that the only reason we care?
I think at certain courses, we've seen it be more so for player safety. I think other courses have been more so like kind of like the spit outs, the baskets. It's like, obviously no one's getting injured from that, but we're seeing it happen where it's like, that shouldn't be happening. Slipping on tee pads, you don't ever want to happen. There's no reason that anyone should ever slip on a tee pad except for it's just natural.
Well, that's where in general, I'm more understanding of standardizing for safety reasons, right? And so I think tee pads largely fall in that discussion. Baskets, I generally think standardization also makes sense, but not for the same reasons. In some ways, I'm like, I don't care. Suck it up, players. Learn to putt on that style basket. Every course has a different dynamic. The question you have to answer is our baskets like part of the course design? Or are they not? Right? And so if you say, well, they're kind of part of the course, like that course has that basket and this course has that basket, then you should learn to play it. If you're of the mind that no, the course design is about the layout, the flow, right, all those other dimensions, and baskets should not be a variable at, course to course, then that's going to decide where you fall on that. I think I'd prefer to see them standardized, but in the meantime, I'm like, I just don't like players complaining about it because it's like, what kind of baskets it is, adjust to it. I'm fine with you also then having an opinion saying you wish it were standardized, but I don't know. But tee pads feel different to me, and that's why I asked that question. Yeah. Safety is a totally different ball game. The Pro Tour and the players have everything at stake to make sure the players are safe. Yes. Whether, gameplay is a little bit different.
Yeah. That's a good conversation.
For every player, it's going to be different. For being here at Olympus, Paul designed, helped put in everything into the ground. Paul struggled with slipping on the tee pads that we had installed. But then you see someone like AB goes out and plays a practice round with him. We don't see AB slip one time. Some of the FPO players, I would go out and watch. Some of them would slip. And then Evelina, who has a very aggressive throw, I don't remember really seeing, and I was able to watch a decent amount of the holes towards the final day, but I don't really remember her slipping as much as other people did. One of the biggest things, I think, in our sport too, when it comes to tee pads as well, I think is proper footwear. I think a lot of players, and I've never played in Vans, so I don't exactly know how they are in any sort of tee pad, but I do find that more players are playing with more kind of low-key, lighter shoes that you didn't normally see, kind of back when Paul was doing all the Adidas Terex stuff, and a lot of players started getting Adidas Terex and Gore-Tex and all these different things, Adidas outdoor shoes. We've seen a lot of players now go towards like a Calvin Heinberg, wears more of a running sneaker. A lot of players, Gannon Burr, wears Vans, where on turf tee pads, Vans aren't going to be your number one shoe. I think actually having a slightly more aggressive treaded shoe on a turf tee pad, not a cleat, but something almost like in that same realm of aggressiveness as wearing a cleat, is better on a turf tee pad. Now, on a dry concrete tee pad, maybe Vans are the best shoes in the world. I don't 100% know, but it's also very, very dependent. Like we talk about different baskets on different courses. We have different tee pads on almost every single course out there, and you have to play to what that course is giving you. So, like, Idio gave us all a pair of shoes last year, and those are shoes that I love wearing on turf tee pads. But on concrete tee pads, I don't want to shred them up more than they have to be. And so I will wear a different pair of shoes on concrete tee pads because I want to preserve the really, really nice ones that I have.
Right. So, this conversation is beneficial for everyone listening, I would hope, including us. The pros have talked about it. They have their opinions, everyone from their preference of how they run up to whatever they don't run up. But, it's interesting. Music City mentioned that, and that's why we're talking about it. Speaking of, and it came up a few times in that conversation, Maple Hill, making news, as usual. Especially if you're from the local area, you catch drift of it a lot sooner. But social media made a post through Maple Hill's, I think it's Maple Hill Disc Golf's Facebook page, not the event. And they posted hole 1 having a triple Mando. Now, before you freak out, which you still might, it's not off the tee pad. It's not over the pond. It is entering the peninsula green of hole 1 at Maple Hill, gold. And
diamonds.
And diamonds. if you are from the Northeast, as in New England specifically, maybe like Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, maybe portions of Massachusetts here and there, there's something called a covered bridge. And you say, Matt, we know about covered bridges, but there's an appearance to the New England covered bridge. You can look it up. It's typically like a barnish red color, and it's really beautiful actually in the fall, especially crossing over some of these smaller rivers. That was the appearance that they were going for with the triple Mando, except they only did the front face of it. They didn't do the actual bridge of it because there's nothing to bridge. So the front face of it.
That would have been incredible. A nice
Yeah.
20-foot Mando.
Yeah, the
Anyway,
Mando
sorry.
actually is a
Keep
tunnel.
going.
It's a tunnel Mando. But so you can look this up. I don't have something to post for you right now, but you can go over to their social media, Facebook especially, I think is where they just posted this, and you can see a picture of it. Now, the reaction has been, per usual, social media, Reddit, or anywhere, losing their minds. Calling everything from gimmicks to Mickey Mouse to putt-putt to...
Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Like, it's absolutely absurd. They've lost their minds. I'm over it. Peace out, Maple Hill. You know, like...
Some people commented that they liked it.
They liked the appearance, maybe, or whatever. They think it's a gimmick. Majority. I'll put this up to conversation here in a minute, but I actually listen to our friends over, every now and then, our friends over at Smashbox. And Steve Dodge was interviewed for their 200th episode, or 500. 500.
Oof.
Yeah,
Oof,
we're
a little bit
almost at
off.
200.
Couple years.
Yeah, we're almost at 200. They're to 500. And Steve talked about it. He said he wanted the aesthetics of the Triple Mando to look a certain way as opposed to, you know, flags like they had at Memorial or Fountain Hills for years or whatever. So that was the reason for the appearance. But the reason for the Triple Mando, I think this news, this message needs to be broadcasted, whether you like it or you're not. They're not trying, their intention was not to make the hole harder, to make it a gimmick to like, let's make this hole harder or more difficult or more unique. They had the issue of spectators at Maple Hill, and that's an issue that's always been a thing. Not the spectators themselves are issues, but there's not enough space at Maple Hill. And one of the areas surrounding the Peninsula Green of Hole 1 could largely be used for spectators if there was this Triple Mando. And before you, like, just think about that. If you know where the rock wall exists on Hole 1, if you've been watching disc golf for a while, you've seen Chipmunk Gate when Bradley Williams and Michael Johansson play off Hole 1. The disc bounced over the wall due to the chipmunk. That wall, you can't have spectators on the other side of that wall because there's the potential that the disc crosses over the out of bounds area and into inbounds. So you can't have people in there. However, if you have a Triple Mando, you can have people in that area because once the disc misses the Triple Mando, it's over, regardless if it came back in or not. And so my understanding, per what Steve said in that interview, that is the main reason for this Triple Mando. You guys can react, whether you like it or not. That's my understanding of why it exists.
Well, I appreciate that, Matt, because I didn't know of the reason. I heard just safety and spectators, but I didn't quite know why. I was like, Nick, you and I sat there for a bit, and I'm like, throws can come in on heaters. I don't know if a Triple Mando will reduce that, but it's where they're standing is the important part. So I think that's a good point to make. What I wanted to say is I am a huge covered bridge fan. I nerd out about those. I think they're so cool. When I'm just driving by and see them, I'm like, oh my goodness, let's go. That's so awesome. It's a weird thing, and maybe it's a culture thing. Maybe people outside of New England do find them cool and like the appearance of them. But when I saw messages about this, it didn't seem like people got that. They're kind of like what they thought it might have been, like a barn door, which sure they do resemble that in some ways, as you said, Matt, but they didn't quite know what it was. But then it was all the other things racing through their mind of, gimmicks and Mickey Mouse and all that fun stuff. But I think the appearance of the wooden covered bridge is fantastic. I actually, which this might be a very unpopular opinion on the already potentially unpopular Triple Mando, I think the bridge in quotes, the bridge should have been longer because it's almost just like the entrance to a covered bridge. I would not a full wooden bridge length. That would be maybe a bit much even for me. But I think like 5 to 10 feet long would have been cooler. I don't know. I personally think it would have looked more like it and made people maybe question the what it was trying to appear as less. But you know what? I think it's a cool thing. I understand when people don't love, like when they call it like a clown mouth, referring to mini golf. I get that we don't want that. There's a very large difference between a clown mouth or a windmill throwing or moving its what do you call those turbine kind of arms around, and you have to time it perfectly right. There's a very large difference between that and then what this triple mando is. Like, it's very, very large. It's not even close. I understand it's a hyperbole. I can't speak today. Apologies. But still, it's nowhere near close. I don't think this is quite that. I don't know. I get people might be frustrated and that's what they go to, but it still doesn't feel fair to say that it's quite that or mini golf level. If you still don't like it, I mean, that's okay. I'm not going to sit here and argue our differences of opinions or taste. But I do think in order to have this discussion, it should be good to talk about it in maybe a more correct way. I don't know if that makes sense. I like it overall. I think it'll be cool. I'm excited to see it later this year and see how the spectators are there to move it over more and then how it plays. But I also don't think it's completely like there is some criticism to this whole. I mean, it's such a iconic and fantastic tee shot. But as far as the scoring goes, I mean, I always feel like it's a really hard birdie, and I wish there was more personally on my level of watching disc golf, and this doesn't make it easier. And it's not that, you know, people who are getting the birdies were trying to go through the trees and make that gap, but they were attacking the peninsula harder. And the triple mando, it's not just a mando to go left and right and go in the middle. It's the triple matters, where you have to keep it up at a certain height. And I think that might be the trickiest part. Someone might be, you know, 50 feet from the entrance, and they might go a big, you know, high turnover forehand, specifically talking about righties here. But now they really got to keep it low, which is going to make it hard to reach the pin that's all the way back there. They did play around with the B position last year, which could be interesting with this triple mando edition. I don't know if that's in the works, but it's not me saying the triple mando shouldn't be there, but I would be excited if there's, you know, a few more minor changes personally to this hole, but I'm overall excited about it.
You bring up a few interesting points. I think they should make hole 7 a full covered bridge. Just do the whole tunnel is just a
yes.
They're not doing this again, is my understanding, for most of the reasons that are getting discussed. Again, it was to allow, I believe, more spectators to fulfill an area. Now there are like other reasons that come out because of it, but that was not the initial reason, is my understanding. We're getting really close to bringing in LYKKE, but
I know we're about to. How deep is it? Have you seen it in person?
I have not been in person. It appears to only be a couple feet, maybe 1 or 2 feet.
Yeah, like 2 feet, 2 feet max.
Image, man. The image looks like
just
8
an
or 10
arch.
feet.
No.
Okay.
You're talking about how wide it is or how tall?
No,
how
like
long?
how
deep?
the depth, like how long the covered bridge is.
It's not that long.
I really think it's like 2 feet.
Yeah.
It's really just the entrance. It's what people think of triple.
That's like an illusion, man. All right, I'll take your word for it.
I don't care for it.
No, after my whole speech, Nick.
After your whole speech, don't get me wrong. I think covered bridges are sick. When I drive through Vermont or when I used to live in upstate New York, yeah, don't get me wrong. They're incredible. They're awesome. They remind me of Beetlejuice a little bit. But yeah, when it comes to playing on them, I guess mandos are for safety, which if you're adding more spectators, then yes, that's a safety thing. Or if you're trying to get people to throw the correct way of the hole. Now, obviously, people in the past weren't trying to throw through the woods to get to hole 1's basket, but if it happened, it happened. You know, it is what it is. I don't love it because it's an 800-foot par 4 where it has an absolutely kick-ass drive, and if you throw that drive well, you have an awesome upshot to the green. Now I feel like it's kind of just like, I don't know, if I ever threw a good drive on that hole, I liked to throw a high forehand that was kind of nose up and just kind of fell towards the basket. I don't birdie the hole very often, so this is just going to make me not birdie it even more now, which is fine. I don't care for that reason, but it's, I don't know. I think it looks kind of gimmicky. I think it would be cooler on like right off the rip, like have a cool thing on a par 3, or triple Mando like the bamboo hole over at USDGC. Those are kind of, I think, better scenarios that I would see it in, but I don't know.
Maybe we'll just see maybe we'll just see like a bank shot now, a bank shot off the inside wall to bounce it in. That's what I'm looking for.
It could happen. I think if they're also talking about it's for spectators as well, it's like, okay, you have the triple Mando now, move the basket back to kind of its OG position and let people sit in the backside of that green. I think that is a little bit better than the way that hole and that island is shaped right now. I think it's a little bit weird. So anyways, throw it over to Matt.
Yeah. We've got a lot going on in the background here, more than you guys even know, actually. I'll share with you guys in a minute here. But we may extend this show a little bit longer. I don't know who wants to stick around, but I think we're going to probably try to do that later as well. We're going to go ahead. If LYKKE, are you ready? Thumbs up. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, we're good. Perfect. She can hear us. Nobody else hears her. I always feel like I'm talking to myself, which is a wonderful thing. But let's go ahead and bring into the show Lia Lorensen. Let's do it, Ben. There we go. What's up, LYKKE? How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Did you just get off the practice like down there at Nashville Music City Open?
Yeah, I literally walked in the door. I'm like walking like this, and I just sat down right now.
Oh, well, it looks like you're well rested. No, I'm kidding. How did the practice go?
I only played the back nine. It seemed like a tough course. Yeah.
Okay, so we play a little bit of fantasy disc golf over here at the show. So you're saying this might not be the week to pick you, or what do you think?
Right now, don't pick me, but we'll see. We'll see at the end of the week. No, I mean, I'm gonna figure it out. I haven't been here before.
Okay.
So I guess it's always like that. First round, you don't know where you are, you don't know what's going on, and everything seems confusing, but I'll figure it out.
Awesome. Yeah, so we've been watching all the players. We try to do the best to keep up with the stats and how people are performing. Going into this season, we all had to pick a player who we thought was going to have an outstanding year compared to the previous year. And I don't think anybody else did. And I'm not trying to say, hey, look at me, but I picked you for my 2024 season, what we call Pop Player of the Year. And you had a decent average start, but these last two events, you're really showing up in a stronger way. How do you feel about these last two events, or even maybe the whole season to this point?
I feel good. I felt like the first tournament was kind of like just getting started, and after that, I felt like my game has been pretty solid. The two tournaments I haven't gotten like a top 10. I'm like very unhappy with my play, and even this week I wasn't happy. So my game feels pretty good right now. So that's cool.
Okay. Yeah, you got a fourth and a fifth. Now, you just said the fifth place doesn't leave you. You weren't happy with it. Did you feel like a podium or even a win was a possibility?
Well, going into the last round, I was definitely going for a podium spot. I think I was one stroke off. So it's not that I'm not happy with a top 5, which I am. So it's more like I'm not happy with my performance, which I know I could have done better. Like, you miss short putts and you have like dumb mistakes and you don't play to your expectations. But top 5, I'm always happy with a top 5. So it's like just more of a how I played kind of thing.
Yeah, as the competitor, you know all the little intricacies of your game. And so do you feel I'm looking at last year. We tracked out what your average finish was across all of the events, and it was 17th place. That's across all of them. You, in the first 5 events, are trending better than that. You're already averaging 12th place. And so do you feel already, it's only 5 events in, do you feel like you're performing better at this point than you were last year?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, last year up until May, I was hurt, so I didn't really like. To me, those events are just whatever. I couldn't throw sidearms. My wrist was hurt, and my backhands were like kind of half power ish. My putt even because I haven't really like I used a lot of wrists in my putt. And that happened at practice at Waco. So after that, I was hurt. But I still like before this season started, I was still like, you don't really know how it's gonna go, right? Until you're just there playing. But I think that I am a top 10 player, so that's kind of where I want to be. So right now, I feel like I am where I want to be, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we talk about the sport and we talk and speculate about the players. I would say at this point, for sure, you're a top 10 player. And that's not just based off the last 2 events. I mean, we saw you coming out strong at the, like you said, after maybe you were healed up. We saw you coming in strong at the end of last season, finishing out at Smugs with that huge putt, which we love to see the emotion there.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are happening for European players right now. Traveling over here, I feel like, I know a few years ago we were talking about it too, but I really feel like this is the year for whether it's wherever you're coming from. And you had struggles getting a visa coming into this year, I think, if I followed your social media correctly. Is that all ironed out now? It's not even something in your mind?
Yes. So that was the whole thing. It was a thing last season too. So I almost didn't get in to the States my last trip when I was going there for Worlds and all the last events. So I thought I was like sent back. So I was like they kept me and I had to do like an interview and a bunch of stuff. And they said, well, this is the last time we're letting you in. You need to get a sports visa. So after that, I was kind of focusing on getting a sponsor, figuring out all that stuff with visa because you need a sponsor because they're the petitioner for the visa in the States. But long story short, I got my visa and it's for 4 years. So I can stay here, I can live here. I don't have to leave for the next 4 years. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's excellent. And do you think that plays a part at all? I don't know the weight of that, but did that relieve any sort of pressure or weight and make you more focused for this season?
Definitely. It is more than people think. I was super stressed out about that. And just being exhausted from going back and forth all the time. And I was back home for like 12 days at one point and then going back. So it was like just like going back, just staying at my mom's, just waiting almost, and then going back, trying to adjust again and not knowing if I'm let in or not. And that was really stressful last year. So this year, I was just super happy when I got the visa, and I feel like this is my home more, and I feel like this is what I'm doing. I'm all in on playing disc golf. This is what I do, and that really took a lot of weight off my shoulders.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm thinking out loud here with Anniken performing so well recently, 2 great players from Norway being cheered for out here. Do you feel like not that you've asked for this, but do you feel like you have a whole country rooting for you when you're here in the U.S. playing? Does it feel that way? I mean, I would imagine so.
Yeah. Yeah. I would like to think that. I hope so.
It's an interesting, that's an interesting question. Because if I traveled to play, even at my amateur status, do I think the whole U.S. is rooting for me? I don't know. Maybe, but probably not.
Yeah, we're a small country, so
There you
it's yeah.
Okay, awesome. And so we see that you like to do. It seems to be that you like to do it. Maybe you don't like doing it, but your content creation with YouTube. Is that something that you've always enjoyed, creating content of sorts? You're a creative person, or is this an avenue because of sponsorship and other things like that?
No, I definitely have been thinking about it for a long time, and I just had so much going on with just a visa and going back and forth and figuring out my whole life, really. So I never got the time to do it last year, but it's always been a thing I wanted to do. And so I started it, I guess, this off season. And well, I've always liked creating content for Instagram and now YouTube. So I've definitely liked that since I was a kid, really. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, well, we're glad to have you here on the show. This was one of, I guess, my creations that Nick and I started about five seasons ago now, and we enjoy it here as well. So I'm thinking here, you come into this season, you had a good finish to last season. Did going into the off season, like, obviously you dealt with all of the visa issues, but did you have goals in mind coming into this season once everything got cleared up, or was it just like, hey, I'm just here to have fun? Like, or is there strong goals that you had?
I've had a lot of goals for myself in my life, but this season I was really just trying to focus on being at every tournament and not thinking about the next tournament, thinking about this round or this shot, even this putt, and just not giving up, just fighting through, getting the best score for every round, and then see where that gets me. And for sure, I definitely have like a top 10 overall type. That's kind of where I want to be. But other than that, I don't really have any strong goals except getting a win.
Getting a win. We saw, like I said, we saw Anniken do it. We've seen other players this season performing where we thought maybe Kristen's doing great. She's still doing great, but she's opened the door for other people to win. And so it has to feel like your time is coming. Do you feel that way? Your time is coming.
Yeah, I do feel like that, especially right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, any given tournament, you go out and play. As a competitor, sometimes you might have to be realistic. Like some players might have to say, like, I know I'm not going to win, but I think at the same time, you always play with that, right? You always play like you're trying to win. Is that true for you? Every week you're trying to win.
It's a hard one because I feel like last year I was not going in with the I'm gonna win or I want to win at all. So I think that just proves my mentality is different this year, and that's what I worked on. Like I guess since maybe like the summer or like yeah. So I kind of just like try to go in with a different mentality. Obviously, I'm also realistic. Like there's a high chance I might not win, which is fine. But also, what if this is my tournament? So, yeah, I think my mentality is different this year.
Well, again, we're watching closely, and the last two events have been standout for sure. Has anything changed or clicked in the last two events following, was it U.S. Women's? Is there anything that clicked for you, or is this just the progression, the natural progression to getting better?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything special. It doesn't seem like it. I think I'm just more consistent. I'm more confident, and I don't I don't have as many mistakes as I used to. And I think also my putt, when I have my putt, it seems like I do better. So that's what happened at US Women's. I was like missing a lot of putts, and my drive were also like a bit off, which was punishing at that course, obviously. But yeah, I don't think it's anything special really. Just hitting my lines.
Well, it's tough competition out there for sure. It's incredible watching the FPO performances, you being included in that, of course. Is there anything that we should know about you for the rest of the season? Are you traveling back and spending time on the European tour portion? Are you staying here now that you have the visa? Why go back? Like, what are your plans for the rest of the season?
We play up until Preserve, and then we go back to Europe to play jet-lagged Swedish Open the weekend after. And then we play Norway, European Open, and then we play the Estonian, the festival one. And then we go back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. One last question here. And this is coming from the YouTube channel. Shout out to them, Overthrow Disc Golf. They do a lot of disc golf coaching. And so they're interested in knowing, and I don't know that you need this, but how much is Bradley coaching you versus self-coaching? Where are you at with that? Do you guys spend a lot of time critiquing each other?
We do spend a lot of time on disc golf. Almost more talking about disc golf, like shot shaping, like holes, discs, what to think about, like just looking at video, analyzing, trying to like put my elbow a bit more out or in, or just we do a lot of coaching, and he definitely does a lot of it. He did a lot the first 2 year. Right now, it's more like a me thing, and he steps in if I need him. Like if I don't know what to do on a hole, if I feel like my form's off, I ask. I'm like, my form is off, and he's like, yeah, you have to stay grounded, or like, yeah, your elbow needs to be more out. So we're kind of in this. Since he's been my coach for so long, we both know what my mistakes are, what I fall back to. So, but he has a really big part of me being better and getting better for sure. So he's definitely been a coach.
Awesome. All right. In getting this ready to wrap up, because we're not going to let you pick yourself, and this is fantasy disc golf. We didn't even talk about tonight. We teased the whole thing about sports betting and disc golf. We're going to have to do a little portion on that. But because we do a little fantasy disc golf over here, if you were to pick one FPO player, not yourself,
Okay.
to what we call pop, which means go off that week, they just perform way higher than they usually do, which player would you pick for this week? Do you have any feelings?
Is it like how they usually do this year or overall?
This year. It's this year's averages so far, the first 5 events.
Okay. I'm gonna say Hannah Wynn.
Okay. Guys, that's actually a fantastic pick. She is currently averaging 27th right now, and you're saying she can do better than that, and this is her week to do it. So there you go, everyone listening in. This is LYKKE's pick, Hannah Wynn. And by the way, one last thing you get asked all the time. Am I saying your name even close to correct?
Say it.
I'm going to say it again on the spot. LYKKE.
It's not too bad. You're just adding a J. You're like LYKKE.
LYKKE.
LYKKE. It's just not like the yeah. It's
Okay.
LYKKE.
Just the eh.
LYKKE.
LYKKE. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. I didn't butcher it too badly. Someone in the chat said ask, and you get asked all the time. I saw the whole Smashbox episode. That was hilarious. You know, they're screaming your name at the end. It was outrageous.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, so that's awesome. But no, we thank you for your time. You came right off the practice. I'm not going to keep you any longer here. I'm sure you have things to do tonight to get ready for tomorrow, and we appreciate all your time.
Of course. Thank you.
All right.
Best
have a
of
good
luck out
evening.
there.
All right.
Bye.
Peace out. Okay. So what has been going on in the background that we've been trying to also line up here that the rest of the show didn't even know was going to be going down? And I don't know. AB, can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Can I hear you? Give me a hello or something. Okay. All right. Once again, we're going to bring in one more interview here, guys. This is our third guest lineup. Ben, let's go ahead and bring into the show if he's ready. It seems like maybe he is.
We figured he'd be a pretty good guest to get on tonight.
Yeah.
We've only tried a few times.
I don't know why.
I hear him scoff in the background.
Hold on. Here we go. Let's bring him into the show, everybody. A special guest, not even promoted at all. So this is exclusive for our real fans. This is exclusive. Nobody came because of the name. But here you are, Anthony Barella.
Yes,
I don't even know where to start except to say that, did you ever in your wildest dreams think this is how the first 5 events would go?
No, 0% chance. I never. This is best case scenario.
Best case scenario.
I mean, I could have won. Waco and Austin. That would have been a little better. But this is. I'll take this.
You're averaging a second place finish with 3 first places. I mean, that's just, it's epic. I'll go back to your first year hitting up a few tour events. Before we get into the rest of the interview, how old were you then? Like your first ones. You came to my house with Paul. Would that have been like 16 years old? 17?
I think my first Disc Golf Pro Tour was in 2017, I believe.
So 7 years ago. How old are you now?
Yeah, 24.
So 17 or so. So you were throwing discs into the backyard at my house, and I remember thinking, this guy.
I remember that.
Good, yeah. We've done a lot of work there since then. You guys are walking around in the swamp picking up discs in the middle of the night. It was epic. But I remember thinking, first of all, in person, you're a lot taller than I expected. Now you're even taller. You're throwing discs. How fast now? What are you clocked at throwing? 80 something? 90?
Yeah, I can throw up to like 83, 84, 85 ish.
And you're throwing extremely far where holes are being broken down in ways that most players can't. All of these things are coming together compared to the previous years. What has changed between the previous years till now? What has been refined that has changed for you?
Honestly, just like my mental game is really what it is. I've always had all the shots I can make. I've always been able to make a 40-footer, but now they're just dropping more, and it's just, I don't know, mentally I just feel stronger than ever.
What were your mental issues in the previous years? Just thinking like too much about stuff, or negative, or what?
Yeah, overthinking, just so many negative faults or negative thoughts, and just always like playing the victim, and it's just like you can't go around playing disc golf like that.
Well, apparently you can't, because when you stop thinking that way, so do you feel more relaxed now? Like, is that what it is? You're just and now at this point with 3 wins and 2 fourth place finishes, can you lose this year? As in, like, if you finished out not playing anything else, like, you're in the conversation for player of the year already. Like, does that just take a weight off of your shoulders?
Yeah, for sure. It's giving me like this weird momentum, and then winning these tournaments, I'm just like becoming addicted to that feeling. Like I'm already ready to play the next one. I just want to win this tournament too.
Well, you'll find it interesting, and we have rules over here for our picks, and I know disc golf betting is just kind of announced as coming today, but nobody picked you.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about that, but none of the hosts today picked you to win, and I don't know if that's because we're afraid of back-to-back wins here or not, but we also have rules how many times we can pick a player, so we're kind of banking on some other events with you. But
Okay.
but you're going to win. You're addicted to it, so you're going to win. Maybe I should change my picks tonight.
Hopefully. I mean, I played well here last year. I lost by 1.
I know. I looked at that. And then I played the odds of back-to-back. How epic would that be, a back-to-back, man?
It would be back to back to back.
Three in
a row.
3 in a row.
Yeah, that would be 3 in a row. I mean, that would just be. I can't even imagine. If you told me this, like in January, I wouldn't think you're crazy that I'd already have 3 wins.
Is it? And you probably can't answer this. I was gonna say, is it kind of becoming a little unfair now because of the momentum? Is that a thing? Is momentum a thing?
Momentum's 100% a thing.
Okay.
Like from that first one at chess.com, I just I don't know. It just gave me the confidence I can win any tournament, throw any shot, and then that putt on 14 down the stretch just gave me the momentum to win the tournament.
All right. Well, I've talked a little bit here with LYKKE and now some others. I'm going to hand this over to Nick for a little bit here because I think he's got some trash to talk. No, I don't know what he's going to say, but we'll hand it over to Nick and then probably to Josh after that.
All right.
Well, first off, just want to say congratulations. Another epic event to watch you win. The putt on 14 was electric. Everyone screaming, you yelling, come on, dude. That's electric. And that momentum, yes, carrying you into it. And then watching the drive on 18. I don't wish ill upon any player, but watching your drive land inbounds and Calvin's going OB, I'm always rooting for you. So awesome to see being able to lay up for the final putt. This is your second year on Discraft. Talk to us a little bit about how the change going from Innova, who you're sponsored by for a long time, and then now as you're growing in your career, going to Discraft. How has that been mentally and just kind of the support system that they have over there?
It's like Discraft just feels like a family now. It feels amazing to be on part of such a team, and I'm so tight knit with Bob and Yuli's the team captain, and I literally stay with him every week. It just feels like a family, and I just feel supported. And then with the jerseys and all the discs and stuff that they're pumping out for me, it's just it's a dream come true. They changed my life.
Yeah, the jersey game definitely, you have to be number one right now in merchandise sales, especially winning all the tournaments. You're getting all the disc sales right now. Do you have any idea what the commemorative disc for this past tournament will be?
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
He's winning too
now
much.
You're just so used to it now. Yeah.
No. I don't know. I don't know if we'll do one. We'll see. We might.
Yeah, hope so. I know Ben had a question. Ben, you can take it over.
Oh, Ben Callaway had a question. No, I'm kidding. We interviewed Ben earlier, Ben Callaway. I was interested real quick.
I'm other Ben.
Go ahead.
Anyways, it's kind of more about your caddy, Cupcake. He's been with you pretty much, I think, Cuppy. I had the honor of hanging out with him a few weeks ago in Texas. And seems like he's been caddying for you for all your wins. How big of a role does he play in that for you?
Yeah, he's been caddying for me since since I was 15 years old at Am Worlds was the first time he caddied for me. And yeah, we stay together every week, and he just comes and hops on the bag and he talks a little crap to me if I'm messing up, and just gets me fired up. And I don't know, it's just comfortable, and then it's just nice not having to carry your bag.
That makes sense. And so you've been on a putting tear this year, and last year that was everyone's number one critique of you, if you can just figure out his putt. How did you overcome kind of that obstacle? Was it mental, or was it just putting in the reps?
Yeah, I put in countless hours this offseason, just grinding out 25 to 30 footers. And that's been the difference this year. I'm making every comeback putt I have for par, a 25 footer for birdie, I'm making all of them. I think I missed 2 short ones that final round. I didn't putt great at all this weekend. I think I only made 2 outside the circle. But I don't know, it's just grinding. This off season just gave me the confidence to look at every putt and just think I've made this putt 1,000 times. Why not do it right now?
Confidence, baby.
Sweet. Appreciate it. Josh, if you got anything, go ahead.
Yeah. So, hey, AB, I want to drill in a little bit on the mental game stuff because your response is helpful, and I think that's intriguing. So, did you start the year with a positive mental mindset going in, or did that win at chess.com give you the fuel and now that mindset's like your mental game's locked in? Like, which kind of came first?
I would think like right before chess.com was when I really started to like lock in. I developed this like routine that I was doing before every round, and that just like helped me relax and then go into the day like feeling loose and just confident. And then after that win, it was just like a flip switch to my brain, and now everything is just like, I don't know, just throwing the disc better than I ever have now, and I've like tapped into a new me.
Is that a routine top secret, or is it just something personal
it's
to you
just
that
like
you're doing?
It's just like a stretching routine that I do before every round, and then like kind of like some kind of meditation.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, it's obviously working. Stick with that routine. So you said momentum's very much a thing. And I think that's because momentum is largely based off of mental mindset, right? So if you feel good, you play good, you feel good, it keeps fueling itself. But I'm curious, are you to the point now where you think, others out there on the course you're competing with, right? So there's a small handful of names we could name who've been there kind of week in and week out that you've been pushing with. Do you think at some point, like, think of some of the past greats, like there's an intimidation factor? Are people starting to realize, oh, great, now I'm competing against AB and you're relaxed out there with a great mental game? Do you think there's any like aura, or is it too early in the season and no, people still feel like, that's not a thing with you yet?
I don't know about that. I mean, I definitely feel the aura from other players. Like that final round on that card, I was a bunch of big hitters. We had Isaac, Calvin, Simon. I was like, wow, this is going to be a sweet card. I was like super excited. And then I just love disc golf and love playing with those guys, and they've done a lot for the sport. But I don't know if my aura is there yet, but hopefully maybe one day.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So tell me, playing on that card, so how did you handle the mental aspect with the way the first 12 holes went? Right? Like, obviously that wasn't cruising. Mm-hmm. Where were you at mentally, and did something switch, or was it just a steady, just push?
Yeah, it was just it was a slow round. It was super windy. I couldn't really score, and it was just like frustrating. And then I got that birdie on 13, and then I was telling Cupcake, I was like, if I can make this putt on 14, like I'm gonna have a chance to win the tournament. And then I just wheeled it in there. I slammed it in there pretty hard, and then that just, I don't even know, honestly. It was just like, it didn't feel like it was really happening.
Well, as a like observer, as a fan, this is where I feel like, and you're living it, but we can see the difference of your mindset and confidence, knowing that if I slam this on 14, I'm in it. And that doesn't actually freak you out. Instead, like, that's like, okay, I can do this. That's kind of the difference of the moment. And I think that's, it's awesome to watch. Obviously we still never know how it'll play out, but it's certainly a different thing. And I'm curious, like, did you ever feel the pressure as a young player? Matt talked about how many years you've been out there, obviously full-time touring, not in the early years, but now you're in here and committed. There's been plenty of comments from media, from other kind of speculators just saying, hey, like, you could be the next big thing if you ever like get it all together and play consistent. And so like that, were you aware of kind of that public perception? And did you ever feel any pressure of that? Or was that just like extra talk?
Yeah, I definitely felt pressure from that. And then there was like moments, like even last year, I was like, will I ever win a tournament? Like, I'll be like the
you're making up for it.
The biggest what if in disc golf history is like always what I thought of myself. And it's like, just need to get one just to get over that hump. And then I finally got it done.
Yeah. Well, we talked about when you got your win early this season. It was probably after chess.com, but not comparing the whole narrative. This is not actually a player-to-player comparison, but the example of Eagle McMahon early on just couldn't get a win. Everybody knew he was good. He finally got a win, and then it kind of broke through, right? And in some cases, I feel like there's a similar, like, learning how to win, being on the big stage, the momentum, and in many ways, like, you were in a similar situation. Obviously, we won't have to go back. Hopefully, all these wins kind of make that loss, at the prior major a little bit better for you. But like having that experience and then now coming out and breaking through, it's just an interesting similar parallel, for you now that you're kind of, cruising along, at least so far in this year.
Oh yeah.
Do you, I'll hand it off to someone else here just in a moment, or maybe we'll get closer to wrapping up. But you talked about momentum, your fire for wanting to go out and continue to win. So obviously excited about that. And so maybe this is kind of a ridiculous, simple question, but do you expect that you're going to continue to perform at this level going forward, from your standpoint, this year at least?
I don't have any expectations. I'm just going to go out there, and then if I play good, I'll hopefully be in contention. And then I don't know. It's all about putting yourself in that position, and it's a lot more disc golf than just like the final 9 holes. But if I'm playing good, I think I can win every single tournament if I'm playing my best.
Awesome. Well, I think you've proved that even the ones you've lost, you could have won. So like that statement for sure is there. So, all right. Well, thank you, Matt. I'll give it to you.
All right, AB. I actually texted Gannon earlier and asked him the same question. I said, what is going to make you better? Or like, what is holding you back from being better? And that's someone who right now, he's averaging a 4th place finish. He's doing incredibly well. You're averaging 2nd place. You have 1 place better that you can average. That's insane. But like, yeah, isn't that funny? But what is it that's holding you back in your game at all? Or do you feel like, I'm there, I just need to continue just to do what I know how to do?
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm just like under committing for like the first half of the rounds. It's like this weird thing. I don't know what it is, but if I can get over that hump and just commit to every shot and not early release, like I did that a few times the final round, and it's just frustrating. But yeah, if I can just commit to every single shot and just take it one step at a time mentally, then that will take me to the next step.
Okay. And then just a fun trivia question for you. What do you think Gannon said when I asked him what he could do to get better? What he needs to work on?
Not getting dead center spit outs.
I'm sure that's true.
We don't need to go down the whole basket talk, but I don't know. Some people complained that light putts were coming out too. But yeah, besides that, I think he probably thought that was a no-brainer. But he actually said his upshot, not his up, short approaches. He said anywhere from 230 to 250, 220 to 250. He says he's horrible. He's trash. So that's his issue. So maybe he needs to step up his game there. But what do you think about that? As much as you're excelling, there's only really one other player that's even close to it right now, and that's Gannon. Is that there's other players who are popping off. Ezra, of course. Kyle can anytime. There's a whole list of players. Mm-hmm. But like, do you see any others right now, or is it pretty much just Gannon that's like you're like every week is going to bring it?
I mean, there's so many great competitors. Like, you can't count anyone out. Like, literally 6 people could have won this tournament. It was like, yeah, it's definitely not just me and Gannon. Like, everyone can win any given weekend. The talent is unreal these days. It's so hard to take down these tournaments. But yeah, me and Gannon, we're good buddies, and we talk a little trash. But yeah, it's all a good fun.
So speaking about the field being so strong nowadays, we all agree with that. It's going to be a new generation of talking about the GOAT, in 10, 15 years from now, there will be a new conversation, just like there is in every sport. But it was just announced today that we're kind of getting to the place of formalizing betting in disc golf. What do you think about that? What do you think about that as a professional player? Like, people betting on potentially you, does that bring any concerns or excitement for you?
I think it's great for disc golf. Honestly, it's gonna be more people are gonna want to watch, and more people are gonna it's just gonna bring more people to the sport. Because I'll only watch a basketball game or a baseball game if I am betting on it or something, unless it's like an Arizona team. But I think it's a great thing.
Okay. I don't know much about formalizing and making that happen, but the Pro Tour, as you mentioned, announced it, and I think it was United Integrity or U.S. Integrity. Is that what it was? You have to become official or something. So,
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
anyways, I would imagine. And do you have any? Again, I'm not a big bettor here at all, but is it going to be betting on what, like over unders, players winning over
over unders? I'd say, yeah.
Any ideas, AB? Yeah.
I have no idea. Hopefully it's over under, and then
How many birdies? How many aces?
Who's gonna win? I would like to see what odds they come up with for like who's gonna win the tournament. I think that would be interesting.
Do you feel like there would be any trouble? I know it's illegal, or I would imagine it is, to like throw something, right? So you're seeing the odds on yourself, and you can make you can make more money betting against yourself than you could winning or not winning the tournament, but placing where you thought you were going to place. I mean, there's got to be a lot of stuff.
You can also go to jail.
Yeah, that's
jail.
definitely illegal. Yeah, it's very illegal.
The money does not outweigh the other options.
I always miss putts, though. So,
I don't think anyone's going to throw away any tournaments for a bet.
Good to hear. Nick, any closing thoughts before we let AB? Yeah, it was so nice of you to join us, AB. By the way, I know you're busy.
Of course.
Super busy.
No, I think just continue having such a great season. We're definitely seeing courses that suit. I mean, feels like every course right now kind of suits your game. But I guess I would say you've won 3 Elite Series tournaments. What's the next goal? You know, what are you thinking? Like, what's
Champions
that next
Cup
feeling that you want to feel?
Yeah, I want to get to the wooded tournaments, because I've seen people saying, "Oh, wait till he gets to the woods course." But I think I'm a good woods player.
It's a good thing next week you guys are going out to Illinois for a major.
I'm really excited for Champions Cup.
Yeah. So
people used to say that about Eagle all the time, and Eagle would have a whole list of events that he played well in the woods. So hopefully, hopefully the same for you here. It's interesting being in your position, I'm sure, seeing people's comments, but
yeah, it's whatever.
Did you put that Raptor in the bag yet? Did my disc help you win any tournaments yet?
I haven't put it in the bag. I have that the same one, but my old one, I found it. I lost it in December, and then someone was throwing it for like 4 months and threw it in the water, and then I got it returned to me. So now that one's back in the bag.
There you go. Oh, well, at least you got a backup.
But the Raptor you gave me is definitely going to be a backup for that one if I ever lose it again.
Perfect. All right.
Well,
but that's it for me.
Yeah, and I say this not as a fanboy. I'm a fan of yours, but you're a very cool player, and I think there's something to be said for that for disc golf too, to where you're gonna you've had a lot of fans, but you're probably making. Do you know what you're like? Is your social media like rising? Do you watch that? Do you see that?
Yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of followers recently, and it's like blowing up. It's crazy.
Okay. Yeah, so you're making fans by the thousands, and this isn't like in a way to like put pressure, but like all these kids that are coming to sport, you're that new quote cool player, and you're just taking off. And so congratulations on this success, and we look forward to seeing how the rest of this year plays out. We've got a little inside bet going. When's the first time that AB places out a top 5? It hasn't happened yet this season, so we got to make that pick. So that's kind of
when do you guys think it's gonna happen?
I don't know. I don't remember ever making that bet.
It was, or no, we didn't. We started talking about it tonight, and we said that would be fun to answer. So we haven't answered it yet.
Yeah, well, to be clear, we also had picks at the very beginning, before chess.com, Anthony, before the season started, on who we thought would outperform their average by the most. And I think Nick and I picked you.
Josh and I both picked you.
So before the season started.
Rolling.
Okay, so your last, I have it right here. It is Anthony Barella. Average last year was 26th place over the season, 26th.
Ooh.
Yeah. So far.
Well, now you know why we picked you, because I figured you could improve on that.
The odds were in our favor.
But now he's doing it. He's killing it. Yeah. So, yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, I would imagine, just thinking out loud here, we're really early into the season, but you've already got a resume going for this season that's probably good enough to like renegotiate contracts if it was a contract year. But like, as far as it goes with Discraft, When did you just last renegotiate? I don't remember looking into that.
This is actually my contract year, so
Oh,
yeah.
there you go.
Wow, what a way to perform on your contract gear. That's huge.
So yeah, we're gonna be talking in the winter time after the season.
Yeah,
we'll see where it goes.
Yeah,
very cool.
You could just hang up, you could just hang it up now and just play out the rest of the year. Say, hey, I got 3 wins. That's more than more than Calvin did all last year, or as much as Calvin did all last year. So, good job, dude. We could go on and on. You're doing amazing things. We thanks so much for taking time out for this, and I'm sure there's gonna be more to talk about, and we'll hit you up again in the future.
All right, appreciate you guys having me.
Thanks,
appreciate it, baby.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Peace.
Dude,
there you go, everybody.
I am snoozing right now, according to
Ben's snoozing on the screen.
I was gonna say
according to the
Ben's camera's dead.
That's
my
funny.
camera's just
You
frozen.
just sit there the whole time, not moving.
I was wondering, I was like, dang, his mic
wheels.
is that good where he can be sitting like that without his mouth even moving and it's picking up that well.
I guess we're just closing out the show with Ben like that.
How good for like AB though? Like, I mean, we can talk about his performance. That's one thing, but just like imagine, and you can tell how good he's feeling. He's like, I want to play the next tournament now.
I'm addicted to it, he says. I'm addicted to
But
that
I mean,
winning
like,
feeling.
He loves the feeling of it, yeah.
Yeah, but he acknowledged, and I think it's true. We talked about momentum and mental game. Like, you can kind of, I've not felt that level of performance, but there are places where all of a sudden you're performing well, and it just it feeds it.
Yeah.
Like, your good performance feeds your confidence, which feeds your good performance, and it's like, yeah, like it takes something to get you off of that train. Which hopefully doesn't happen for him, but it's really interesting. Just like, yeah, how much he literally believes he can win every tournament because he's proven he can.
And he also said earlier, he's like, I love disc golf. And like, there's so many players right now where the schedule, and we were talking about it with Callaway earlier, the schedule this year is jam packed with events back to back to back to back. I mean, they're going to go on like 3 or 4 weeks in a row of playing events. A lot of players played the A tier where they could have had a week off before Jonesboro. They played the A tier. That just happened. And then now they're about to go to a major, and then they're about to hit the West Coast swing and all these different things to where AB's like, yeah, I want to play the next tournament. I want to get going on it. And there's so many players who are like, bro, I want like 3 weeks off. I want to go home. I want to see my family. And I know AB went back to Arizona for a couple days, I think last week or the week prior. But yeah, he's just got, we keep saying it, he's got the momentum right now.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible feeling winning any sort of tournament, whether it's a C tier or an Elite Series event. Obviously, winning an Elite Series event or a major is that much better of a feeling, but winning is such an incredible feeling in our sport. Is you performed better than everyone else, and it gives you that rush, that high, that adrenaline of like, hell yeah, I did it. And he's been making fat paydays off of it as well. I mean, $10,000 to throw a disc for 3 days is pretty friggin' gnarly.
The chat
he's flying in and out places. I mean,
chat
like,
saying he's already made 40,000 thanks to Daniel from Texas. 40,000 in just payout this year. So.
Just in payouts this year so far.
5
We
events
played
then.
5 events. Yeah, 5 events. He's made $40,000
minus whatever.
Yeah,
I mean plus
like,
whatever he's getting for salary.
If we can zoom like far out and just like imagine, it's gonna be crazy. Or even like 10 years ago, if we were to glimpse forward and be like, yeah, 5, the names we've used to seeing on the top of the list are not, for various reasons. Again, maybe they'll bounce up there again, but we're not seeing those names. We're seeing these young players. They're winning $40,000 in the first, 5 events. Like it's crazy. It's awesome.
Well,
and that also creates a nice easiness of touring and enjoyable. Like AB's probably got a decent contract enough to where he's happy with it. He wouldn't have signed with Discraft if he wasn't happy with it. So he's got that going on top of, the earnings right now. So he's just kind of like, look, I just got to go out there, keep playing good disc golf, and things are happening right now for him. It's, I get the whole thing. Money doesn't buy happiness. Does buy a lot of easiness, though, in certain things to where the stress of touring, if you're taking home a payday like that, I mean, that's life-changing money for so many pros that are out there right now grinding. Like, take our good buddy Paul Kranz. If Paul Kranz went out and won an Elite Series event and made $10,000, the amount of stress that gets alleviated from that is insanity. What I could do with 10 grand right now. Oh, I wouldn't be stressed about anything in my life right now with an extra $10,000.
Isn't Paul paying you 10 grand a week? Come on now.
Oh, dude, 10 grand a day.
Wow. You heard me ask AB, if he felt that historical pressure, right, of people saying,
He said
like,
yes.
hey, like he should be, and he felt that, and I tell you, that's gone now. Like
Yeah.
that pressure is gone. That's a big deal. And yeah, Nick, we're not going to get philosophical on what actually gets happiness, because that's probably a really deep conversation.
Yeah.
But the
For
truth
everyone, it's
is
different.
yeah, but the truth is, winning events and winning money, I'm not talking about true happiness, but like that is a happy state. Like that's he's feeling that, he's flying high, and you can see that. So like there's a lot of happiness going on for him. Obviously life's more than money and tournaments, but like when we're talking disc golf, it's all about money and tournaments. Yeah. So like
he's a 24-year-old kid who back-to-back weeks they threw $10,000 into his PayPal.
Yeah. Part of it's his demeanor as a person. But you could see when he joined, it's also because he's won 3 of the first 5 events. And he was just like, hey, guys.
It's super happy-go-lucky.
Yeah, like I'm happy to come on the show.
I mean, the feeling that he probably got after winning chess.com, we could never say what could have been from Anthony Barella. We can never say that anymore because he's won an Elite Series event now. Now we're saying, like, what else can he do?
Yep.
There's no more what if with him. It's kind of like...
Right.
He's doing it.
Yeah. And this is our point, is obviously there's still so much of the season. Evan's, comments to where he could only win 3 all year are still very true, because honestly, it's still very, very hard. And he acknowledged that. He said, like, all the players out there can win. It's so hard. So I don't think we're overreacting to say he's going to win everything else from here on out. But the point is that he's already won 3. So he's already having one of the best years. Like right now. Right. So it's like, that's just why it's fun to react. I'm glad he was able to share that with us.
Oh yeah.
That was a surprise interview that we didn't know we were getting. As always, we try really hard to line up interviews. And because we're a Monday night show, sometimes that's a struggle, because we come out of the event evening and they're getting bombarded, and we run into Monday and they're either sleeping in or they're busy on the course with filming or whatever they're doing. Practice rounds. We're grateful for all the guests who swing by, but he sent a text right there near the end of the show. Hey, just got off the course. Sorry, I've been filming all day and evening or whatever, and I saw this and I'd love to come on. So we kept it late. We don't think you'll mind. It is now one of our longer shows and episodes that we've done. But there you go. We do our best to bring it.
Ben fell asleep. So yeah,
I'm
audio
still
listeners,
so
you can't
tired.
see.
I'm so
You can't
tired.
see. But audio listeners, go back to
snoozing.
It's so
go back to
funny on
YouTube,
camera.
jump forward like 2.5 hours into the show, and Ben fell asleep.
It's been a long
Wake
show.
up, Ben.
I'm tired.
Wake up.
I woke up early today, and it's time to sleep.
So I didn't know your camera was frozen. And I didn't see the chat at the time. And the first thing you said, like, you're like, dude, I'm snoozing. And you just said that in the camera, the mic. And I'm like, why are you saying that, dude? Like, okay, mid just whatever, you're
I'm
tired.
snoozing.
Then I look up at the camera and I'm like, it's all making sense. And the chat's hilarious. Just some of the funny things they're saying.
We got to do a marathon stream, like 24-hour live stream.
Where we eat one chip challenge.
Oh.
Okay. We're getting off track here, but we talked about a lot. We're going to wrap it up now. Just fun thought of the night before we let you go. One is thanks to Disc Golf 978 as this episode's presenting sponsor. As always, we love them. Use the code WeLove978. Also, remember that what I said about 25% off for tournament directors. And then the fun thought, though. Can you imagine in a tournament acing the same hole twice? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Especially that beautiful hole.
That was
Over the water. Now hole 15, I think is what it is, but over the water.
It makes sense, but if you see the Pro Tour like put up the side-by-side stitch video, it's unbelievable how close. I mean, it makes sense. He's the same player, but even mannerisms and everything, it's like weird.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, it's a glitch. It's awesome.
Insanity. To do it back-to-back days at an Elite Series event. So
yeah,
everybody,
camera,
thanks so much for
all that.
Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in on this wonderful Monday night to Staggered Stance. Thank you to Disc Golf 978. Thank you to Hooligan Disc. Go check out all the links that we have for them in our bios. Also use We Love 978, right? We Love 978, the code at checkout. Check out all the awesome things that they are doing locally and around the world for tournaments. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms. Once again, we love you guys so very much. Tell someone you love them this week. We'll catch you in the next one.
By the way, that was Braden Sides. And yeah, I was going to say, wake up, Ben. You're awesome. Nick, you're awesome. Josh, you're awesome.
Braden Sides said what?
He's the one who did it.
Waden. I was like, Waden Sides.
Waden Sides.
Braden's long lost brother.
Waden. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.